All right. Good evening, and welcome to the one and only Poetry Open Mic ASHEViLLE, coming at you live from Asheville, North Carolina. Thanks for being with us tonight. My name's Caleb Beissert. I'll be your host this evening. It's always a pleasure to be your host here on the Poetry Open Mic. I'm gonna get things started with the poems, and then we got a great featured poet for you tonight. Thomas Crowe is in the virtual house, and he'll be here sharing some of his own work and talking about his experiences with the poet Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who passed last week and was a very big influence on Thomas, as well as many other poets, including myself. So we'll continue to remember the work of Ferlinghetti tonight. Very good. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, the Kava bar here in Asheville. And shout out to everyone tuning in down there at the bar tonight. They are open for, they got the patio open. To go orders, just wear a mask down there. And be sure and tip your barkeeps. Y'all give it up for the barkeeps. Yes, indeed. Oh, I can hear you all the way over here. Very nice. All right, good. That's a good sign. All right, cool. All right, very good. We'll give you a chance to tune in. Hey, we really appreciate the likes, comments, and shares. We already got some comments rolling in there, so thank you for those. Keep them coming. We love to hear from our audience. And also shout out to our technical director tonight, Morgan Beissert. All right. I'm going to kick it off tonight with some Lorca that I translated. This is Memento. When I die, bury me with my guitar beneath the sands. When I die, among the orange trees and mint. When I die, bury me, if you want to, in a weather vane. When I die. And this is Song of the Withered Orange Tree. Woodcutter, cut down my shadow. Save me from the torment of seeing myself fruitless. Why was I born among mirrors? The day turns over me, and night copies me fully in all its stars. I want to live without seeing myself. And ants and thistledown, I will dream that you are my leaves and my birds. Woodcutter, cut down my shadow. Save me from the torment of seeing myself fruitless. All right. Cool. And I got two original poems. This is one that was written out during a certain celestial event. This was written out near where Thomas lives in Little Canada. This is over in Caney Fork at a spot Thomas brought me to. This is called Eerie Light at Judiculla Rock with Telescope and Loved Ones. Lie in curves of rock of river afterwards. Stones chime. As if afloat, I lie in the hollow of a river rock. Goats stagger perfect, the steep banks eat the soft branches. Moon takes its place as the rise of crickets and cool winds sweep the twilight valley. The humans we encounter when the sky opens, they with talisman and dream stories. They with legends of the Cherokee winced from memories of wolves and turtles and that balance we seek. At Judiculla, they say the rock danced when the sun hid, that etched soapstone from before memory, before anyone came there in a dream, before names of flowers and birds we know now, long before the mines and tractors. In this valley, the seasons awaken and go back to sleep. The The safety of surrounding forests hides deep springs with old water so pure. All around them, newts, mushrooms, and mosses, flies in the grasses, little signs. The land still holds sacred for some. Spare workers try to save the hills for another generation. Strew prayer flags that fade to rock and grass. Cows low in the field. Little crescents scatter from trees and smile on our faces. Folded paper glasses. A blue streak in the second sunset today. Thanks, y'all. I got one more, and we'll get our featured poet on here. And this one sort of relates to the theme here. This is a poem about rhythm, and it's called Beat Poetry. In circles before sun temples drums intone out of their emptiness. To spur profound longing, blue-green dreams steeped in foliage, sound fog deep in forest answers, keeping time to the beat before time. That amoeboid heartbeat carried into kaleidoscoping light windows of pixelated waves laced into neuron circuitry. Baffled and fueled by mysteries. Two worm-eaten genes hung on crystalline skeletons, bright yellow atomic rain clouds of city buses passing in the night frame of lonely corners of sky. Great columns and moonlit palaces, sound permeating every cell in this abode. The light beams drift like tractors across ripened fields, saturated in delicate hues of tropical skin and cactus blooms, fractal ferns sprouting from dust, new planets overhead beneath us, ascending into fragrant midnight molecular Abyssinian vases, digital Egyptian sarcophagi, ancient Incan stone motherboard logic spinning runic songbirds escalating far red-colored distant sweetheart Orions and dilated open eyes and heads of reptilian coils, an electric spiral pulsating cloud hands reaching on the ethers wafting in the temple of Aphrodite. Stoned upon the rocks of time, in love with every rhythm and every cell in everything, forever, without ever, echoed in ocean waves and thunder painted across clear nights in the perennial spring around campfires and subwoofers, continuing the majestic beat, one, 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 one. All right. There we go. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. Let's get our featured poet on here. I'm so excited to have Thomas Rain Crowe in the house with us tonight. He's been a big influence and a great friend and mentor to me and many other poets, of course. I do have a few. He's the author of many books. I have a few of them here. And we have some links. We're going to post links to where you can find the books. We've got an interview we can link to and more information on our poet tonight. So I encourage you to check out those links. Thomas Rain Crowe is an internationally published and recognized author, editor, and translator of more than 30 books, including the multi-award-winning nonfiction nature memoir Zorro's Field, My Life in the Appalachian Woods, released in 2005. An internationally acclaimed anthology of contemporary Celtic language poets entitled Riding the Wind, A Celtic Resurgence, New Celtic Poetry, and his collection of poetry, the Lorraine Poems, written at the Dylan Thomas Boathouse in Lorraine, Wales, in 1993 and 1995. This is true. He actually went and stayed in Dylan Thomas's boathouse and wrote those. He has been an editor of major literary and cultural journals and anthologies, and is founder and publisher of New Native Press. Big shout out to New Native Press. You can find them at newnativepress.org. He lived in San Francisco during the 1970s, working alongside all the people cited in his most recent book, starting from San Francisco Beats, Baby Beats, and the 1970s San Francisco Renaissance, and was an original member of the group responsible for the resurrection of Beatitude magazine, the famous Beatitude magazine, during the watershed and the Little Canada community of Jackson County in western North Carolina, USA. We're so happy to have Thomas Rain Crowe on the show tonight. Yes, indeed, we see the comments coming in already. Thank you for the comments. Keep them coming. And also, if you have any questions for our feature poet during this time, leave those in the comments as well, and we'll try to get to those after the reading. But without further ado, please put your hands together wherever you are. If you're at home or if you're in public somewhere or at the Kava bar, wearing a mask, scream and shout and jump up and down and make a whole bunch of noise for Thomas Rain Crowe. Hey, Thomas.
Hey there, Caleb. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
It's been a long while, and I think it's been at least a year since we talked in any way face to face.
Yeah, and any kind of face to face. Yeah, it's been quite a year, and of course you are a poet who's no stranger to isolation, right? I mean, you've done the Back to the Land thing. I mean, you literally wrote a book about living off the grid in the Appalachian Mountains. So I mean, how has this time been for you?
It's been a little rougher than my time in Zorro's Field, actually, because in Zorro's Field I could do whatever I wanted to, whenever I wanted to.
Right.
In the context of the natural world, the woods.
Right. The sort of chosen isolation, whereas
right.
This is a sort of
right. And I was active all the time, and this is a little different. I feel a little bit handcuffed during all this, but you find ways to be creative. Being creative, I think, is the best remedy for isolation when it's not imposed by yourself. So that's what I've been trying to do, is to be as creative as I can be.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of creativity, I want to talk about your work, and of course, may he rest in peace, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, of course, which seems like a good starting place for your work, because that sort of, he was one of the first people you met when you came to San Francisco, right?
Yes, that was part of a little story I was going to tell in preparing for this evening, but it really started earlier than that. My first exposure to Ferlinghetti was in a bookstore when I was a teenager in high school, and I came across this guy and this book titled "Starting from San Francisco." And
right.
Opened it up and started reading poems like Underwear and Overpopulation. And I've never seen or read anything like this, because in school, all you're getting is, 16th century Old English poets. And here's Ferlinghetti writing about underwear and politics and free love and all this kind of thing that was current. And that set off a whole series of light bulbs in my mind, and I couldn't get enough of Ferlinghetti. After that, I literally went out and got another book, The Coney Island of the Mind.
Oh, I know that one.
Which is, it was published right around the same time that Starting from San Francisco was. So my introduction to Ferlinghetti continued through high school and then in college. And then when I graduated from college, I thought I wanted to be a poet. I decided in college that that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought to be a poet, you had to be French. I mean, Rimbaud, Baudelaire,
Right.
the list goes on. And so I left America and went to France, went to Paris, because I knew the Beats had gone to Paris and stayed at the Beat Hotel. And
Oh, yeah.
I went to the Beat Hotel and stayed there for a while. And I knew the language from school. I knew a lot of the literature and the philosophy and all that. I loved the culture as I got used to it. But I soon found out that I wasn't going to be a French poet. I was just going to be a French wannabe poet, and that wasn't going to work for me. So I came back to the United States and went to San Francisco with a collection, a manuscript of poems that I'd written while I was in France. I was there for about a year, and so I had a whole manuscript and ended up in San Francisco. Was living in a funky old hotel full of hookers and bikers, because that's all I could afford. So, but the first thing that I did after I got settled was I took my manuscript up to City Lights Publishing on Grand Avenue and walked in the door. And I walked into the door, and the first person I saw was Lawrence Ferlinghetti sitting at his desk.
Oh, man.
I just about fainted.
I would have, yeah.
This guy was my hero, and so we had a nice conversation. I submitted my manuscript. I knew he had a history in France, loved the French culture and language, studied at the Sorbonne, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought my manuscript probably had it had a chance. But as it turned out, he rejected the manuscript, but very amicably and very nicely. He told me that he enjoyed reading it, and so we started a little friendship. And this went on as weeks and months and years went by, and we resurrected Beatitude magazine. We were doing protest readings all over the city in the Bay Area. We were doing readings, and then we created with Lawrence and a few other people the San Francisco Poetry Festival. So I mean, and that was kind of the beginning of the real Renaissance with that festival in 1976. And I was the director of the festival. Lawrence appointed me director because he didn't want to do all the work. And yeah. I was more than happy to, because here I was, in the presence of this great man and other great men that I was meeting, like Jack Hirschman and Gary Snyder and Michael McClure, Diane DePrima. I mean, Jack Micheline, Kaufman. Everybody was in San Francisco then.
Wow. So, one of our readers asked, our viewers asked, what year was this? You're talking about right now? It's mid-70s?
Well, the Poetry Festival was in 1976. I arrived there in the early 70s. I mean, about 73.
Okay.
So we're talking early and then mid and then late 70s before I eventually left. But this Renaissance was real, and we had hundreds of people at these readings out the door in the streets. The same thing for the festival. We had 2,000 or 3,000 people in the Veterans Auditorium out.
Unbelievable for a poetry reading.
Poetry.
Yeah.
And what was going on? We used to call it the University of the Streets, because it was all happening in the cafes and bars. And I was getting my education, my literary education, just hanging out with these great poets.
Right. And Thomas, you can see the Trieste Cafe, Cafe Trieste behind us tonight.
Yes, I saw that. It was like going home, man.
Yeah, right.
They had the best cappuccino in North America, I think.
Good spot. Yeah.
A little show and tell if this is going to work, because to prove I'm not making all this up, here's a picture of Lawrence and I backstage at the Little Fox Theater in North Beach before reading. And that's me and that's him. And that was around 1975. So,
So cool.
I mean, I've got
He's not lying.
This is a whole picture book that I did with some help, of pictures that I accumulated over the years while I was there. At every event that we did, I had a photographer. And so we've got incredible pictures of people reading and doing their thing. I mean, look at this picture of Ferlinghetti at a protest at Doubleday Books. Look at, I mean, you know.
That's so cool.
Fabulous stuff. And
great photo.
Yeah, this is classic. And here's another protest reading for nuclear safeguards in California. There's Lawrence in the park downtown in San Francisco.
Wonderful. And I believe we have a link to this book that will be posted in the comments as well for the viewers out there.
So what ended up happening was we were doing all this stuff. It was endless and it was nonstop for years. And here's another picture of Lawrence at the Little Fox Theater, director of Alienation. Great pictures.
I love it.
Absolutely classic pictures. And then in this book, starting from San Francisco, there's a lot of photographs too, just like in the other book. So it's a documentation of that whole Renaissance. And there's many, many pictures of Lawrence in different situations. Let me just read one little short passage here from the book to give you an idea of what this was like.
Sure.
I'll write here. It's a question and answer book by Third Mind Publishers that did this a couple of years ago to document this, chronicle this whole Renaissance. I say I loved hanging out with Lawrence and working with him in all the ways we did. There were great moments. I remember Lawrence inviting me and Neely Tchaikovsky up to his apartment on Grand Avenue. We were up there and he had this little Royal typewriter. He had a poem he was working on in the Royal typewriter, and he said, "I want you guys to read this thing." We read it right in the typewriter. That was one of the high points, is still one of the high points in my life. I remember reading a Ferlinghetti poem that he was still working on and writing, and he wanted us to read and wanted to hear what we thought of it. That was heavy duty stuff to a guy still in his mid-20s.
Wow.
And the poem eventually ended up in a book, a New Directions book that he was that has a picture of him writing on a wall, kind of graffiti style. It's called "Who Are We Now?" And then, while having strong opinions of his own, he was also a good listener and respected the perspectives and ideas of others. So Lawrence was a very unique person in his personality and his mind, his intelligence, and his talents as a poet and as a painter. He was also an artist. So very unique man. And I just had the good fortune to be in the right place at the right time and to be able to spend an awful lot of time with him over the years doing a lot of different things.
Incredible. Yes, it's amazing to see that scene that you were part of there, and that he had such a big influence on, and all that. I found a copy of Beatitude magazine for people who are wondering. And this was actually a mimeographed, right, for the kids out there. That's a type of printing they used to do.
We did it the way they did it back in the 50s. We wanted to
keep it real.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Let's see. I understand you have some poems to share with us tonight. Should we do those?
I mean, since this is really in honor and homage of Lawrence, I want to read a couple little things of his. And I also wanted to say that, during my time, and I was in my, mid-20s most of the time while I was there. And I was really, learning, and I was more or less during those years a wannabe Ferlinghetti, and I was writing a lot like Lawrence, just to educate myself and to get better at this thing that I wanted to do.
Well, that's how you do it, right? That's how you get better. Imitate the greats, and then find your own voice, right?
Well,
and translate too.
That's what happened. And then after Lawrence, I became a wannabe Jack Hirschman, and that went on for a while.
Yeah,
and he's one of the beats too.
Oh yeah.
And then later on, toward the end of the 70s, I became a wannabe Gary Snyder, because I had met him and I moved up to the San Juan Ridge and was living up there for about a year. So,
oh yeah, the whole nature thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this was my education. It was really a hands-on kind of deal. But let me just read you just this quick thing before we get into the poems that kind of introduce the poems.
All right.
I'm talking about a broadside that I was given in the 1970s in San Francisco. I said I received the 1975 edition of the Populist Manifesto directly from Lawrence when it came hot off the press back then. He was reading it often at readings both in and outside the city. It was and became a very popular political poem for those times, a true manifesto which we all emulated in our own individual and various ways. And then the Third Mind Books editor asked me, did it have a real effect, an impact, this Populist Manifesto?
Which is a call to poets, essentially, right? I mean, it's
right. And I'm going to read part of that in just a second.
Cool.
And I say, yes, a big impact. We took it seriously, which it was meant to be taken, even through tongue-in-cheek, heavily satirical, and often humorous. In my case, I wrote poems such as The Death of Poetry in America and I Wash Your Dishes, America, which are similar in style, but nowhere near as cleverly satirical as Lawrence's piece. I think that he edited and changed the poem over the years. He would often edit poems during readings as he read them aloud. Speaking poems orally seemed to fit his ear more objectively, and he would be making marks on manuscripts or on copies of published poems and books as he read them to his audience. So, that was a lot of how he did a lot of his editing, but
cool.
So particularly this poem, the Populist Manifesto, I'm going to read a little bit of that, but first I'm going to read a shorter poem just to give you an idea of his style.
All right.
From the earlier years.
All right, I'll turn it over to you, Thomas. But I want to remind everyone, if anyone has any questions for Thomas, just leave those in the comments, and we'll get to them when we come back. And now Thomas is going to read some poetry for y'all. Poetry Open Mic Asheville.
Okay, so with Lawrence literally looking over my shoulder here, as you can see the picture. Here's a poem of his from his first collection of poetry, Pictures of a Gone World. The world is a beautiful place to be born into, if you don't mind happiness, not always being so much fun, if you don't mind a touch of hell now and then. Just when everything is fine, because even in heaven they don't sing all the time. The world is a beautiful place to be born into, if you don't mind some people dying all the time, or maybe only starving some of the time, which isn't half so bad if it isn't you. Oh, the world is a beautiful place to be born into, if you don't much mind a few dead minds in the higher places, or a bomb or two now and then in your upturned faces, or such other improprieties as your name brand society is prey to with its men of distinction and its men of extinction, and its priests and other patrolmen, and its various segregations and congregational investigations and other constipations that our fool flesh is heir to. Yes, the world is the best place of all for a lot of such things as making the fun scene, and making the love scene, and making the sad scene, and dinging low songs and having inspirations and walking around looking at everything and smelling flowers and goosing statues and even thinking and kissing people and making babies and wearing pants and waving hats and dancing and going swimming in rivers on picnics in the middle of the summer and just generally living it up. Yes, but then right in the middle of it comes the smiling mortician. So Lawrence is famous for those great last lines, or throwing in a wrench in the middle of the poem just to keep you honest and keep you awake. And he's one of the best at that, I think. But I mentioned the Populist Manifesto, and I want to read just a couple of short sections from that to give you an idea of this poem, which is probably one of his more important poems, actually. It's very political, very social, and it's very appropriate and contemporary to those times. But reading it now, 40 some years later, it seems to be contemporary now. So here's a little bit of the Populist Manifesto, which is really, I have to add, kind of Ferlinghetti's howl. Okay. Poets, come out of your closets. Open your windows, open your doors. You've been holed up too long in your closed worlds. Come down from our Russian hills and Telegraph Hills, your Beacon Hills and your Chapel Hills, your Mount Analogs and Mount Parnassus, down from your foothills and mountains, out of your teepees and domes. The trees are still falling and will go to the woods no more. No time now for sitting in them. A man burns down his own house to roast his pig. No more chanting Hare Krishna while Rome burns. San Francisco's burning. Mayakovsky's Moscow's burning. The fossil fuels of life. We have seen the best minds of our generation destroyed by boredom at poetry readings. Poetry isn't a secret society. It isn't a temple either. Secret words and chants won't do any longer. The hour of oming is over. The time for keening come. Time for keening and rejoicing over the coming end of industrial civilization, which is bad for earth and man. Time now to face outward in the full lotus position, with eyes wide open. Time now to open your mouths with a new open speech. Time now to communicate with sentient beings. All you poets of the cities, hung in museums, including myself. All you poets, writing poetry about poetry. All you dead language poets and deconstructionists. All you poetry workshop poets in the boondock heart of America. All you housebroken Ezra Pounds. All you far out, freaked out, cut up poets. All you pre-stressed concrete poets. All you unilingual poets. All you pay toilet poets groaning with graffiti. All you A-train swingers who never swing on birches. All you masters of the sawmill haiku in the Siberias of America. All you eyeless unrealists. All you self-occulting super surrealists. All you bedroom visionaries and closet agate propagators. All you Groucho Marxist poets and leisure class comrades who lie around all day and talk about the working class proletariat. Poets, descend to the street of the world once more and open your minds and eyes with the old visual delight. Clear your throat and speak up. Poetry is dead. Long live poetry. Poetry still falls from the skies into our streets still open. They haven't put up the barricades yet. The streets still alive with faces, lovely men and women still walking there, still lovely creatures everywhere, in the eyes of all the secrets of all, still buried there. Whitman's wild children still sleeping there. Awake and sing in the open air. So, literally from that poem, I wrote a poem almost immediately afterwards during my Ferlinghetti wannabe period, and it's called "I Wash Your Dishes." Ferlinghetti, when I knew him in the 70s, was an anarchist. He proclaimed I am an anarchist, but as the years went by, he changed his affiliation, his political affiliation and leanings, and became what he called a democratic socialist, democratic socialism, to include democracy and the idea of socialism being really about community and people working together across racial divides and economic divides and national barriers. So anyway, this is a poem called "I Wash Your Dishes" after Ferlinghetti's Populist Manifesto. America, I have spent my life like a servant, scrubbing your floors, taking out your trash. America, during time of homeless and unemployed, when rich get richer, poor stay poorer, I wash your dishes. America, I wash your dishes. Bankers and loan sharks, I wash your dishes. Government pips and drug lords, I wash your dishes. Judges, I wash your dishes. Teachers, professors, I wash your dishes. Politicians, I lick your plates. USPD, I scrub your pots. Yuppies, I shine your silver. Editors, I wash your dishes. Publishers, I wash your dishes. Bartomaniacs, I wash your dishes. Owners of every square inch of good land, I wash your dishes. Beautiful Hollywood women on the make, I wash your dishes. Gossip mongers, backbiters, I wash your dishes. Falsifiers of fake news, I wash your dishes. Sound familiar? Pious pedophile priests, I wash your dishes. Fame seekers, cop-outs, I wash your dishes. I wash your dishes, America. I scald my hands in boiling water so that you may eat in style. I brillo my fingers raw to the bone to keep you fat. I scrape the tasteless belches from your platters, the platters of your gluttony. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach, and I wash your dishes, America. But I'm fed up with your garbage, with your mind that belongs in the garbage. Promises and lies, a different fork for every bite. I wash your dishes, America, I shine your shoes. I wash your dishes, America, I plow your fields. I wash your dishes, America, I grow your corn. I wash your dishes, America, I lay your track. I wash your dishes, America, I pick your grapes. I wash your dishes, America, I build your homes. I wash your dishes, America, I fix your roof. I wash your dishes, America, I print your books. I wash your dishes, America, and get no thanks, no love. United States of America and the United State of ignorance and greed, I wash your dishes. Inside, I am crying. When are you going to wash and dry these tears? So there you go. A little bit of
great, Thomas. So I find that one so relevant too. When did you write that poem?
That was one of the first, or I would say the earliest poems that I wrote in San Francisco. I mean, I was before that. That was around 1975, but that was the first one that I released into public. It took me a while to raise enough courage to go public with my work, and that was the first poem that went public after Ferlinghetti's Populist Manifesto.
Sure, yeah. I think you predicted the coming of fake news.
Well, sometimes us poets, we can be a little prophetic, I think,
Certainly. But I find that one so relevant. I think anyone who's worked in the service industry, and especially anyone who's been in the service industry over the past year, can really relate, I think. But thank you for sharing that. I love that, and I love hearing that early work next to Ferlinghetti's. You can really see the influence come through, and of course, Thomas, he's gone since then. He's gone on to cover many more different styles of poetry and also translation. Thomas has translated the works of many different poets from Hafez to Hugh Elaine Dahl, to many others. And hopefully we can have you back on in the future and look at some of your other work. Your nature writing as well is fantastic. Your environmentalism work. I think we did have a question or two. I think we can briefly get to. Yes, some comments here. Good comments. And yes, Rachel asks, do you think we are seeing a resurgence in the popularity of political poetry in young people?
Well, Caleb, I think you would know that better than I, because you're out in the public, with people your own age and younger.
Right.
I've been isolated for a year, and I do correspond with some young people, but I don't really have a sense of what's going on in general in terms of the political poetry. But I do come across. I mean, I get the New Yorker, and I get poetry magazine, and so I see some of the work that comes through, and I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by the activist movements in the world right now, like the climate change movement with some of the young people and some of the high schools that had gathered after the shootings and become very
right.
vocal and activist. So I'm very encouraged by the young people that I meet and that I've come across. And their affinity for being active and their intelligence. The new generation of young people seem to be very intelligent and very strong, and they're not going to take it anymore.
Hell yeah, man.
And that's it should be that way, because they're the ones that are inheriting the climate change and the government problems we're having, and so like we did in the 60s, with the Vietnam War and other things, we had to step up, because that was our life that was being put into jeopardy. So we got in the streets and got vocal and started writing, and hopefully that will continue, and there'll be a resurgence of that now.
Absolutely. I think so. I certainly hope so, at least. And well said. Yes, cool. I think that was it for the questions. But Thomas, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show tonight. Thank you for sharing your stories, your fond memories of Lawrence Ferlinghetti. What a fine and influential poet he was. And thank you for sharing your own work as well and talking about your experiences and the Baby Beats, which is the scene that you came out of in San Francisco there.
Right. We didn't get a chance to talk about that very much, but it's all in this book here.
Right. And we have a link to that.
About the whole transition, the transfer of the beat tradition from one generation, literally by hand, to the next generation. So, and Caleb, you and your friends are the third generation. So this tradition, this
Grandbaby Beats.
That's right, and this American tradition continues and will continue, I hope, into the indefinite future. So,
indeed. Well, may it continue.
That's right, may it continue. And I'm going to leave everybody with this picture. This is one of my favorite pictures of Lawrence. There he is, Director of Alienation. There he is.
Director of Alienation. Very nice. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you for being here. And everyone out there, give it up one more time for Thomas Rain Crowe. We'll see you next time, Thomas.
Ciao, man. Take care.
And you're tuned in to Poetry Open Mic Asheville, coming at you live from Asheville, North Carolina. And thank you so much, everyone tuned in tonight. Thank you to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava. And thank you to everyone commenting. We appreciate the likes, comments, and shares. Very good. Some more comments there for Thomas. We really appreciate it. And everyone keep in mind, we do this virtual open mic every Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern Time, U.S. And we invite you to share your poetry as well from wherever you are in the world. We do a sign-up sheet every Monday night in the Poetry Open Mic Asheville group on Facebook. You can sign up there, and we'll save yourself a spot, and we'll send you a link. On Wednesday night, we've got some performers coming at you next. I think we have Kevin Evans up next, and Justin Evans, and then we got Ashley and Tony and Phil and Rachel and Christopher and Jason, Lee, Tracy, Justin, Emilio. We got a full night, so we're gonna get down to it. I'm so happy to see all these wonderful performers in the house. Of course, we welcome all forms of artistic self-expression. It's all poetry here, and we invite you to share. Keep the comments coming. We really appreciate it. And shout out to our friends down at the bar. We are now open a little later on Wednesday nights, so you can hang out and watch the open mic down there on the screen, on the projector, and over the system, and have some Kava. So y'all got some time left to get drinks. Get them drinks in while you got time, and tip your barkeeps. We really appreciate it. Also, be sure and check out Thomas's work. We've got links in the comments where you can find more of Thomas's work. And tune in next week. We'll have R. Flowers Rivera as our feature poet. You don't want to miss that. Keep it locked here tonight. We got plenty more poetry and art coming at you. Let's see if we can beam in Kevin Evans here. Y'all know what you got to do. You got to make a whole lot of noise. Give it up for Kevin Evans. Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing tonight? Good,
yeah, I'm
good.
doing all right.
It's good to see you. Glad you made it back this week.
No doubt. Sorry if my connection is. Are we good here? Can you hear me and stuff?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you just
cool.
loud and clear. If it's a little wacky, I can just go ahead and turn it over to you and let you share what you got. Some poems and some harmonica tonight.
I'm gonna read a little Ferlinghetti.
Awesome, cool.
But then maybe original poem that I just wrote like an hour before the open mic started. So
New shit. New
so,
shit.
So we'll see.
All right, cool. Well, I love your original work, and I'm really excited to hear you read Ferlinghetti. I think you'll have a great ear for that. So
yeah,
turn it over to
hopefully.
you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Kevin Evans, y'all, give it up.
All right, hello. So, I've got a couple of Ferlinghetti poems here. We're going to start with a poem called "They Were Putting Up the Statue." They were putting up the statue of St. Francis in front of the church of St. Francis in the city of San Francisco in a little side street just off the avenue, and the sun was coming up on time in its usual fashion and just beginning to shine on the statue of St. Francis where no birds sang. And a lot of old Italians were standing all around in the little side street just off the avenue, watching the wily workers who were hoisting up the statue with a chain and a crane and other implements. And a lot of young reporters in button-down clothes were taking down the words of one young priest who was propping up the statue with all his arguments. And all the while no birds sang any St. Francis passion, and while the lookers kept looking, up at St. Francis with his arms outstretched to the birds which weren't there, a very tall and very purely naked young virgin with very long and very straight straw hair and wearing only a very small bird's nest in a very existential place, kept passing through the crowd all the while and up and down the stairs in front of St. Francis, her eyes downcast all the while and singing to herself. And this next one, Ferlinghetti, is called Dog. The dog trots freely in the street and sees reality, and the things he sees are bigger than himself, and the things he sees are his reality. Drunks in doorways, moons on trees. The dog trots freely through the street, and the things he sees are smaller than himself. Fish on newsprint, ants in holes, chickens in Chinatown windows, their heads a block away. The dog trots freely in the street, and the things he smells smell something like himself. The dog trots freely in the street, past puddles and babies, cats and cigars, pool rooms and policemen. He doesn't hate cops, he merely has no use for them. And he goes past them and past the dead cows hung up whole in front of the San Francisco meat market. He would rather eat a tender cow than a tough policeman, though either might do. And he goes past the Romeo Ravioli factory and past Coit's Tower and past Congressman Doyle of the Un-American Committee. He's afraid of Coit's Tower, but he's not afraid of Congressman Doyle, although what he hears is very discouraging, very depressing, very absurd to a sad young dog like himself, to a serious dog like himself. But he has his own free world to live in, his own fleas to eat. He will not be muzzled. Congressman Doyle is just another fire hydrant to him. The dog trots freely in the street and has his own dog's life to live and to think about and to reflect upon, touching and tasting and testing everything, investigating everything without benefit of perjury. A real realist with a real with a real tale to tell, and a real tale to tell it with, a real live barking democratic dog engaged in real free enterprise with something to say about ontology, something to say about reality and how to see it and how to hear it, with his head cocked sideways at street corners, as if he is just about to have his picture taken for Victor Records, listening for his master's voice and looking like a living question mark into the great gramophone of puzzling existence with its wondrous hollow horn, which always seems just about to spout forth some victorious answer to everything. All right, that's Dog. So this is one of my poems I just wrote before the open mic. So I probably plagiarized myself somewhere in here. Things that I'll edit later to make it sound less typical, to not use the same words all the time type of thing. But for now, this is how it came out. Yeah. We said hello right before that famous prehistoric caveman tunnel. out in a place where only Yeti, Sasquatch, Toad, wild and bushy speak with stars. Through Bigfoot echo, thumb, toe, thump, drum on stone older than earth. You lurch with your leash, crystallizing clouds with which breach the sweetest parts of all earthly burnt beasts, burying and buzzing beat, which attempts to hum the sound of secret code of universe, but still not necessarily the answer that perfectly resolves this chapter. We say hello as we walk through that famous prehistoric caveman tunnel. On the cusp, I've become so familiar with the feeling of not knowing which way is in and which way is out, entrance or exit. We say hello because here we no longer have to beg for greetings, for touch, for dream. So we are told. But if so, why so many invisible creatures rattling in your moonbeams in your corner? A praying choir up in smoke, smoldering upon each other's shoulders. We say hello. And then only see you later. And I do a little blues hop. I just got a new one the other day, key of C. So we'll pluck on it a bit. All right, hold on. I think that's all I'm doing tonight. Thank you.
Kevin Evans, y'all. Thank you so much, Kevin. Man, great reading of those, and I love the new one, man. It was great.
Oh, thank you.
Read that today.
Thank you, man.
Very good, yes. I love the blues harp as well. Thank you for being here tonight, Kevin. It's always good to see you. And,
likewise.
Yeah, man, let's get up soon, man.
Heck yeah, man. It's been good.
All
Thank you, as always, man. See you next time.
Absolutely. We'll see you then. Everyone give it up one more time for Kevin Evans.
Peace. Cheers.
Peace. Excellent. Okay, cool. We got some space opening up now. Cool, and we got more performance coming at you, so keep it locked here. You're tuned into Poetry Open Mic Asheville, brought to you by Sovereign Kava. And, yes, we're live here from Asheville, North Carolina, USA. Thank you for the comments, everyone. We really love seeing the comments, so keep the comments coming. We love to hear from our viewers. And keep it locked here, because we have a lot more poets and other performers coming at you tonight. Up next, we have Justin William Evans, and I think we're gonna check in with the bar. After that, we got Ashley and a whole bunch more people coming at you. So keep it locked right here, and please help me make some noise for Justin William Evans. Y'all give it up. What's up, Justin?
Oh, Kid Rock. How you doing, man?
Good rock.
Kid Rock.
Pot roast.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's good to see you.
You too. It's been a minute. How you doing?
Yeah, man. I've been well, hanging in there.
Yeah.
Same,
good.
still at home nicely.
It always feels
how you
kind of
been?
the same. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Busy. Busy and not, I don't know. Not busy enough to say that I'm busy, but like I still use the excuse.
Right. Well, you're teaching college at least, so.
Yeah,
that's something.
Maybe. Yeah, but some crazy news, and like just to express how delicate the situation is with like all education right now. But like,
sure.
The entire college got what's it called? It's not malware. It's ransomware. They got a ransomware attack and shut it down for like 3 weeks. So we're just getting back into the semester. Yeah.
Holy crap!
Super
3
fucked.
weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Did they have to pay up?
I don't know. No.
They just had to wait 3 weeks. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the full situation. Yeah, they had to get around it, and like it's just been crazy. Because like everything's online now, so like everything is at risk of that kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Right. You can shut the whole school down like that. Wow, that is crazy, man. I had no idea.
So people on the internet, if you're thinking of doing that to like an education institution, like go fuck yourself. Like that's
why
right of all things right now.
Of all places,
go after a bank.
Yeah, you could hit a bank, or I don't know. I'm not making any
cops,
suggestions.
I don't. Yeah. It's crazy. But like,
actually.
Well, yeah, but like, you don't have to stop. I do want to say though, like this is. Oh, I don't. Yeah, okay. I do want to say like AWP is this week, and like today was the first day, and like the talks I went to were just,
it's all online this time, right?
Yeah, so it was just me on my couch just getting infuriated with these annoying talks. So this is really nice and refreshing.
It's like the real AWP, but you can't leave the panel and go get a drink.
No, it's just.
Well, I guess you can at home, unless you're out of drink.
Yeah, but it's like it doesn't feel like an escape. It feels like I don't know.
Everything else we've
my computer
last year.
So, I'm going in and out.
Oh, you're good. We can hear you here.
Okay.
And shout out to AWP. Good luck to everyone this week. And just I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. I know you got some poems for us tonight.
Yeah. And Kevin, I've got some. I don't know. I still feel bad because it's all like the only new things I have are Instagram poems. But then Kevin inspired me, so I'm gonna read some Ferlinghetti too.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I'm stoked. I can't wait to hear you read it. Let's
turn
it over. It's good to see you too. Everyone, give it up for Justin Evans.
Woo! Cool. Thanks for having me, y'all, in your houses or at the Kava bar, wherever you're at. I just totally stole this idea from Kevin, and I just realized, like, I've got a copy of Coney Island of the Mind. I'm gonna whip this thing out. I have like a pretty severe distaste for like celebrity mourning, but when it's opposed, just a good excuse to read some good work. So so here's just a couple of them from Coney Island of the Mind. Great book. This is number 9. See, it was like this when we waltzed into this place. A couple of papish cats is doing an Aztec 2-steps, and I says, "Dad, let's cut." But then this dame comes up behind me, see, and says, "You and me could really exist." "Wow," I says. Only the next day she has bad teeth and really hates poetry. And I also realized like front loading my little set with Ferlinghetti is like a really bad just aesthetic move, because it's going to make me sound like a real it's going to make me sound real bad. But yeah, this is 4. In a surrealist year of sandwich men and sunbathers, dead sunflowers and live telephones, housebroken politicos with party whips performed as usual in the rings of their sawdust circuses, where tumblers and human cannonballs filled the airs like cries, when some cool clown pressed an indelible mushroom button and an inaudible Sunday bomb fell down, catching the president at his prayers on the 19th green. Oh, it was a spring of fir leaves and cobalt flowers, when Cadillacs fell through the trees like rain, drowning the meadows with madness, while out of every imitation cloud dropped myriad wingless crowds of nutless Nagasaki survivors, and lost teacups full of our ashes floated by. Fuck you, that's good shit. Sorry, Morgan, I forget. I don't know if I forget the rules on here. Yeah, so I feel like a real turd whenever I read off of a phone, but like all I've been doing lately is just writing depressing pandemic poems just about like sitting on my couch. So yeah, this is one from a few days ago. I really like reading them though, so thank you for listening to me read these poems and like let me be a real jerk and read off my phone. I don't know why I'm so insecure about that. Anyway, yeah. The back. Oh no, these poisons. Those flat earthers might have a point after all. Our ecosystem is pretty two-dimensional compared to, you know, fish and monkeys, I guess. Is that the deal with tree houses and skyscrapers? Nobody loses sleep over Agartha anymore, and that makes me anxious. Doesn't everything have a basement? Don't you have a basement underneath that building? Let's you and me feel along the floor for signs of weakness in the marble. Access to the forgotten basements with windows to the backyard, cold air and bare light bulbs that you turn into burning with a satisfying string. You'd think some pervert would have told us all about it by now. Walking through the parking deck, felt its poured stone sway. Hear the birds that nest in its seams. Up on tops, the whole world, or at least the light coming off it. Yeah, I like this one. You're good on profanity. Don't promote drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, and keep your clothes on. Aye, aye. Yes, sir, Morgan. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I need to make a joke if I'm going to read that, but I've got nothing. So I'm just being annoying right now. I'm just like digging a hole of insecurity. And I don't know. Yeah, but I don't believe that there's a whole earth to dig through. Like, I feel like I'm almost there to a hidden underground room of some kind. Yeah, that's another poem. No, I've got no idea, not even for you. Not even one. I keep adding oil until the engine drifts among itself. You say very naturally, that's the same thing happened to the great clockmaker. Left us gardeners adrift like the last cannibals of the Medusa. Every Christmas he comes to visit, and every spring we cut him to pieces like it's German Craigslist and lay him at his own altars. Somebody says it's far out. Yes, far out. Yes, out to the reef and down to the dark. I've been thinking about the history of music Oh yeah. Naturally, I know less and less, although the ashes add layers onto my bones. I lay out and wonder on the X-ray eyes of the veterinarian and the intestinal folds of this sweet little sadist who tries to lactate me with his knives and shapes against me before I wake up in the morning. If you want to play a game, you can guess how many of these poems are about my cat. I think I'm just going to read one more. There's one. Actually, I'll read a couple more. Actually, I'm going to read for another half hour. There's one in here. Oh, yeah. So I was thinking about what I would read, and I thought, like, oh, it'd be really funny to make fun of people calling things in threes triptychs. But now that I'm here, I realize it'd be a douchey move because things are cool in threes, and if you have a word for things in threes, then why would I want to shit on that word? Like, it's a good word. It sounds cool. Yeah, it's 3 stanzas, so I was going to make fun of triptychs. Anyway, this is the poem. It's stupid what you think. The light bulbs shaped like tropical fruits. Those organs dedicated to ancient choreography. People couldn't possibly exist. You little baby. Your fingernails have more to do with bees than with peeling stickers. Brains probably work like bugs or something, or hydraulic nets. Or maybe, with enough internal variety, everything starts to pick at itself. I should number these. 2. The theater. Ah, yes. Don't you miss watching private arguments in an artificial living room? Next to strangers in the half-dark, scared to laugh at the wrong time? I would like my guts to be bullwhips, stealing French fries and doorknobs, that living skin miracled into lightning and ivy for jungle travel. I would open like a fist of tentacles and hold myself in a warm web of leather. I would ugly like a cuttlefish and function entirely by this one repeated process. 3. Reaching into your throat with a spoon, scraping free your tonsil stones, I see a little light reflected. And I dream about some metal splinter you tried to dig out of your head. We'd pull it free with tweezers. And just like that, no more craving human blood. No more black sky of the grave. That one wasn't about my cat. That was about sad stuff. Oh, God, I'm the worst. I want to read one more for y'all, if y'all wouldn't mind. This is, I love this. I wish I could see faces. I just see my face. I see one my face, and then I see a little my face. And then in my sliding glass door, I see another my face. And yeah. And I wish instead of the 3 my faces, it was all of y'all's faces. Is that forming a connection? Am I just digging a hole in the mud? And it's raining, and the mud is just like up to my knees now. And if I stay in this hole for long, if I try to climb out of it, I'll drown. So my only way out is to keep digging and to just hope that I can keep throwing the dirt over the side of it. That's what this process is. Jesus Christ. Never doing this again. I don't know how to get out of this. I just have to read another poem, and then I just have to get away. Yeah, another poem. The truth is, we get our bad ideas from each other. I mean, it's not like you really believe that much. You sleep, lean back into the grass, converse with the parasites and the corpse eaters. You like them better. They say, "Whoa there," and yes, yes. Hang blankets over the tree limbs, hold stones in their mouths. It's not unnatural for the body to consume itself. It's not surprising. It's not worth saying. But you do hope for a little consolation, a friend in some infection. Every ache is like a bystander's exclamation, a pixel of your reflection. Somewhere in the dark, the dentist, with her long metal wasp, is removing the mouth over many thousand appointments. I'll be as smooth as an apple, not screaming. And on that downer note, that's all I got. This is nice.
Very nice. Very nice, Justin.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Oh,
of course.
man.
I loved it, and I know that I don't know. I think that the triptych thing. I don't know the official definition, but for me, like when I think of a triptych, I think of separate images that create a dialogue with one another.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like maybe a poem in 3 parts is not necessarily a triptych, though.
No, it's a poem with 3 stanzas, but like I don't know.
It's
I think
just poets wanting to be artists, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's in the same way that we curate poetry readings and whatnot.
Yeah, no. Ever since Burroughs said that, I think he said that like writing's like 100 years behind painting, and like I feel like ever since then we've all been really insecure about it. I don't know.
Damn you, Burroughs.
Yeah, no, damn you. We all think you're right, and we all feel really bad about it. We just, I don't know.
Indeed, that's why we always write ekphrastic poems.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone's
just want
got
associations. We've all got one. Yeah, that's what all workshops are right now. I don't know. I'm being a jerk. I don't want to be. I'm just.
Is that every panel at AWP this year?
Yeah, there
modern
was
imagination.
I'm sure there's a panel every day that mentions ekphrasis. Ekphrasis? Yeah, ekphrasis. Also, it's a Greek word, so people like that. Like half of the audience doesn't know what it means. And I'm being a jerk. I shouldn't talk like this. I don't know.
On that note,
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I did, and thank you for reading some Ferlinghetti. I love that this is carrying over in a whole other week. And
God, yeah.
You mentioned Coney Island of the Mind. This is a book of poetry that has sold over 1 million copies.
I didn't know that.
A book of poetry. Yes.
Holy shit.
It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
One of the rare few. But as my friend Richard Jarrett likes to say, become a famous poet and you can make hundreds of dollars. Literally.
Totally. Man,
but,
I
don't know. Maybe Ferlinghetti did all right. Yeah,
I don't know. He lived a long time. Like, he was probably.
That's one thing he had going for him. He was almost 102. Yeah, like a month shy. Yeah. But anyway, good stuff. Hey, we'll have to catch up soon, man. It's so good to see you here. And please do come back and share more.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, I love this. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Thank you, Justin. Everyone give it up one more time for Justin William Evans. Yep, that's right. We love Justin William Evans. Thanks for tuning in tonight, y'all. This is Poetry Open Mic, Asheville. Coming at you live from Asheville, North Carolina. Thanks for being with us tonight. Our sponsor is Sovereign Kava. And we're going to check in with Sovereign, I believe. We have Sovereign on the line, our good friends down there at the Kava and Sava Bar. And let's see if we can get them connected. Y'all got to make a bunch of noise down there for the bartenders. I got to be able to hear you over here, though. So give it up. Whoa! Chris! Wait, am I seeing two Chris's? Holy cow!
Two Chris's and a Sin! You got two Chris's right now.
And Sin! Oh,
Sin
Sin is
here,
there.
he's
It's
got
getting
no mask
wild.
on.
Yay!
Yeah, it's getting wild here.
Hey!
Thank you guys!
We love Sovereign Kava.
Open mic never stopped. You kept it going. You kept it going the whole time throughout this fucking pandemic. And our customers stayed in a parking lot and supported us. So thank you guys. Come and have a drink.
We couldn't do it without all y'all.
$5 doubles, $11 kettle doubles.
You got a few minutes left to get drinks. Speaking of which, what?
That's right.
Y'all want to do a shot?
That's
We
it.
doing a shot?
Let's do it.
We got shots. Chris
Let's do it.
is ready. He's got his jar ready. It's Keely. What's up, Keely? Oh, it's all our friends down at Sovereign Kava. This is so great. These are our friends down at the bar. The bar is open noon to 10 on Wednesdays now. And look at them. They're having a good time. We're having a good time. Everything's all good. So let's cheers. Bula.
Cheers,
Labus,
Caleb.
labus.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bula.
Salud.
Enjoy the rest of the open mic, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. That's Chris and the gang down there at Sovereign Kava. Appreciate y'all. Get some shots. Sovereign Kava. Many thanks. Everyone give it up for our friends down there. And we'll be here every Wednesday. Sovereign. Bula! All right. Very good. Thank you. It's good to see our friends down there at the bar. I know, like everyone's been on here. A lot of the folks nowadays, we've got people on here who've never even been to the Kava bar, never even been to Asheville. So there's a little taste of the scene here for you. And yes, indeed, we're doing one for you. Believe me. Shout out to Casey. It's good to see our friends tuning in all over the place as well. Casey in New Mexico or Colorado tonight, something like that. She's always traveling. She's everywhere. That's awesome. We love our friends. Much love to our friends. Anyway, speaking of, we have more friends coming up here on the open mic. Ashley Huber is in the house. We have a few Hubers in the house tonight, and we're always very excited about one of my favorite families ever. The Hubers! Let's see if we can get Ashley beamed in here. Ashley is a fine poet and nonfiction writer, and let's see if we can get her connected. Y'all gonna have to make a whole bunch of noise. Give it up! What's up, Ashley?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. I'm doing open mic, so I am so good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic.
I already pre-dug my hole, so I don't need to worry about that.
Oh, good. So. Yeah, because those are apparently hard to get out of, so.
And I have an emergency ladder, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
He was great. I loved it. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. Justin's fantastic. Cool. What did you bring tonight? Because I know you write all kinds of stuff: poetry, fiction, nonfiction.
I've got some poetry.
Cool.
I am not going to read anyone else, but I do have a kind of a beat, an ode to that beat era and that type of poetry. So,
of course, yeah. I imagine that was a big influence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
in the Hoover family.
My mom, yeah, a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Beth. We love Beth. Cool. Well, I am excited to hear your work, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Ashley. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all give it up for Ashley.
few things. This one is a short one. Sometimes I sit inside my mind without a song, a word, or rhyme. No sense of self, others, or time. Just me here within this skin, waiting for the world to begin. All the while missing the fireflies spinning magic before my eyes. This one is called Date with Death. A man in black sits eating pizza. He says he's dead, but I don't believe him. His hands invite me to join. Between bites, he explains. Plants seem to know when it's time to go. Weeding is hard work, especially when the roots are firm and unfriendly. Humans present a similar nuisance, leaving ruins where there were roads. And you should know. He finished his meal, stood up. I should go, if you'll excuse me, he said politely. Confused, I stared. Death looked back. I'll see you soon, when the garden needs a prune. And this one, I don't number mine, and I'm not going to, so I apologize. I've seen the young minds of my generation smoked out, drugged out, taking themselves again to the edge just for a little high, looking for the meaning of life at the bottom of a bowl, winning off sympathy, screaming for the ability to feel anything, swimming in an idle soul, paying per night for a penthouse to let the demons out before injecting more in. Don't give a shit if the next bed they see is a coffin. It's a game they've played for too long. I've seen the best minds of my generation too tired to go on. I've got one more. When I was 19, I moved to New York, not to become a famous actress, but I just really wanted to explore that, and I got a chance to, and it was very exciting. So this is called Harlem. 19, intern for a talent agency. Bedroom was really a hallway, but that's New York. The Apollo was just a stone's throw from our brownstone. Take the 1-9 to get home. Please see the please help signs. Can you spare your time? My stop, 119th. I see a flasher. To my surprise, the man offers me a blender, pulls it from his overcoat like a magician. Without interruption, a procession of men wearing wizard's robes are declaring we move. I didn't know then. Those were Nuwabians, the leftover cult remains that believed in aliens, among other things. A short walk, stop at the bodega, hear the old men laughing at the table out front, slapping cards hard. Reggae tone playing down the street. That rhythm electrifies my bones. Oh, how I love my Harlem home. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. I love those. I definitely hear the beat influence. Very good stuff. Yeah. Cool. Cool deal. Well, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. It's always great to have you here. Please come back soon.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Cool. Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all give it up one more time for Ashley. Yes, indeed. And you're tuned into Poetry Open Mic Asheville, coming at you live. Poetry Open Mic Asheville from Asheville. Anyway, man, it's been a great night already, and we still got more coming at you. I think we got Tony up next. Tony Robles up next. Very good. Awesome. I want to make sure we blast the comments here for Ashley. We have some comments. There they are. That one over there. Yeah, comments for Ashley. Yeah, right? Good stuff. Good stuff, and we're having fun tonight. Thomas Crowe was our feature poet tonight. It's been good, and Tony was actually our feature poet a couple weeks ago. So great to see feature poets coming back and doing the mic. Tony is an amazing writer, and he's the Carl Sandburg writer in residence, and just a fantastic person all around. So let's see if we can get Tony connected here. Y'all know what you got to do. Make a whole bunch of noise for Tony Robles. Tony, what's up?
Hey, what's happening, Caleb? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's so good to see you. How you been?
I'm doing all right, man. Good to see you too, man. And thank you for the plug. The Carl Sandburg.
Absolutely.
Well, just to give you a Carl Sandburg update, I think last time we spoke, I was waiting for when my hair was going to turn completely white.
Right.
Yet, but
still working on it.
Still working. Still working. Hey, some wonderful poetry tonight, and as always, you're a great host and MC.
Why, thank you. That means a lot. So yeah, you're still out there in Flat Rock, right?
Yeah, the pandemic put a little bit of a damper on the residency because the writer in residence is actually supposed to live in the farmhouse with the view of the goats.
Yeah.
No such view.
The famous goats.
Because of COVID. So
right.
So we had to do everything remotely, but it's really an honor.
Yeah. Still really cool, man.
Yeah.
And so that's cool. Have you managed to get some writing done out there?
Yes. I've been able to do some writing. I got a job at a thrift store, so one of the poems is going to be about the thrift store, and then also, of course, poem about Ferlinghetti.
Awesome.
I grew up in North Beach. Not
that's
that
right.
far from,
yeah, that's right. Where
far.
City Lights is and all that.
Yeah.
We talked about this. Yeah. And so he must have been a monumental figure in that scene.
What's funny is, I never met him. My late uncle, poet Al Robles, knew him, knew Allen Ginsberg. I know Jack Hirschman. He's a friend of mine.
Oh, I love Jack. I've met Jack before.
I like Jay. He says, well, this poem is an arcane that
it's arcane
right now. And then also Tongo Eisen Martin. Want to shout out Tongo, who's the new poet laureate in San Francisco. Just got named. So, so anyway, the thing about being from San Francisco is that, you have all these landmarks, and, for many people that are born and raised there, I know people that have never been on a cable car or never went to Alcatraz,
Right.
So
you just don't really do those things if you live there, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, I know that Lawrence Ferlinghetti, he left an indelible legacy that, permeated all kinds of levels of culture, that addressed, his politics, culture, art, and the fact that San Francisco really became a hotbed for eviction, and North Beach being one of the neighborhoods that was severely impacted by that. Lawrence had an interview on PBS where he talked about that, the influx of these new folks and how it was eating away at the artistic community. But
and now is it the most expensive place to live in the country now?
It might be. I think
it's one of them for sure.
The rents are coming down, but at its height, $3,000, $3,500 a month. Low income was six figures. People were considered low income, being in the six-figure bracket. Affordable housing, low income housing. A lot of people couldn't qualify to be in low income housing. You had to make a certain percentage of the median income. Of course, the tech industry is kind of skewed, those numbers.
Sure, yeah.
Threw everything out of whack. But it's going to be interesting to see how all this kind of pans out. We have eviction moratorium, and I'm just hoping that things really get better for people.
Right.
Same
here. Yeah. I hear you. Yes, in evictions. Now's the time for sure. Well, cool. Thank you for coming on tonight. That's so cool. You can share that experience. Because the Bay Area. I mean, it really is this cool. To this day, it's a really cool poetry scene. A really really unique place for poets.
And City Lights, that launched a lot of careers. I mean, Jessica Hagedorn, the poet and novelist Jessica Hagedorn, the Filipina who wrote Dog Eaters and other novels. She got her start at City Lights. She used to go in there, and I think she befriended Rex Roth, and Rex Roth took her under his wing. I think Rex Roth was actually the one that was he the one that coined the beats that came from him, the word beatitude, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I think Lawrence Ferlinghetti didn't really use that label to describe himself so much, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Well, if any of our beat scholars listening, feel free to correct us, but that sounds right to me. I mean, Rex Ross was right there at the beginning with all those other beats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just read a couple of short ones, and then I'm going to read one from Lawrence Ferlinghetti.
Awesome.
The two poems I'm going to do have kind of a San Francisco flavor to it. First one is going to be Salami and French Bread. So did you want extra mustard or mayo on that poem?
Mustard, man. Mustard for sure.
You got to have mustard. All
right. I'll turn it over to you, Tony. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Y'all give it up for Tony.
All right. Okay, we're going to put some extra mustard on this poem for you tonight. Poetry Open Mic Asheville. Much love and honor, Lawrence Ferlinghetti Presente. This is called Salami and French Bread. Me and my father bonded over a lot of salami and French bread, especially over at Molinari's Deli over by City Lights on Columbus. Salami and French bread. My father calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, what's happening?" His voice is the same, no static. His tone, familiar notes bending towards the sun and the thick bamboo forest in Hawaii. I tell him I'm doing okay. Eat oatmeal, he says. It's good for you, especially with walnuts and blueberries. Be sure to exercise too. Walking is good. He says that in life, you have to move forward. And we talk about our past in San Francisco. Crying shame what it has become, he says, hearing about the homeless in the news. The neighborhoods, the places he cherished are talked about as dirty, places to stay away from. But he can't stay away, even 2,000 miles away in Hawaii. He says he loved Italian salami and French bread. He'd buy a big roll in North Beach and cut it into thick slices, and we'd share it. I remember the knife cutting into the salami and bread as the fog cut through us like a dream's current. And it was the best thing about the city, my dad's city, my city, the city of St. Francis, the city of salami, the city of French bread. I can taste it despite everything. So that's a poem for my father. I have another poem here about, it has kind of a San Francisco flair. And it has a little something to do with my job at the thrift store and about Janus Joplin, who spent a lot of time in San Francisco in the Haight-Ashbury during the 60s. Rest in peace, rest in love. This is called Janus at the Thrift Store. On the overhead, there's always a song appropriate to the occasion or situation. In the thrift store circus that employs me, I am a performer bagging this or that item like a hunter bags game. Only difference is that I set the captives free for a price, of course. On the overhead speaker is Janis Joplin. Her voice breaks through while a woman purchases a small bucket and wringer. It looks just like the one I used when I worked with my father in his small janitorial company. I had my eye on it, wanting to snag it for myself as a way of remembering where I came from, but this gray-haired old lady got to it before I did. Another woman buys an assortment of household items, including a wooden fork the size of a yardstick. We had one on the wall of our house, like many Filipino houses. I felt the fork jabbing me in the ribs as I put it in a bag with a big smile on my face. She also bought a weighty brass heart. I put it all in a box with the rest of her purchase. It's almost as if I am selling pieces of myself as I perform, smile on my face, while Janus sings on the overhead, "Take another little piece of my heart." Okay. And again, thank you for having me tonight. Rachel McMurray, mahalo to you too. All right, sister. I'm going to read part of this poem by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. It's called Autobiography. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is pretty, it's kind of lengthy, but this is called Autobiography. I am leading a quiet life every day, watching the champs of the Dante billiard parlor and the French pinball addicts. I am leading a quiet life on Lower East Broadway. I am an American. I was an American boy. I read the American Boy magazine and became a Boy Scout in the suburbs. I thought I was Tom Sawyer catching crayfish in the Bronx River and imagining the Mississippi. I had a baseball mitt and an American Flyer bike. I delivered the Women's Home Companion at 5 in the afternoon or the Herald Trib at 5 in the morning. I could still hear the paper thump on lost porches. I had an unhappy childhood. I saw Lindbergh land. I looked homeward and saw no angel. And I got caught stealing pencils from the 5 and 10 cent store the same month I made Eagle Scout. I chopped trees for the CCC and sat on them. I landed in Normandy in a rowboat that turned over. I have seen the educated armies on the beach at Dover. I have seen Egyptian pilots in purple clouds, shopkeepers rolling up their blinds at midday, potato salad and dandelions at anarchist picnics. I am reading Lorna Doone and A Life of John Most, terror of the industrialist, a bomb on his desk at all times. I have seen the garbage men parade and the Columbus Day parade behind the glib, farting trumpeters. I have not been out to the cloisters in a long time, nor to the Tuileries, but I still keep thinking of going. I have seen the garbage men parade when it was snowing. I have eaten hot dogs in ballparks. I have heard the Gettysburg Address and the Ginsburg Address. I like it here, and I won't go back where I came from. I, too, have ridden boxcars. I have traveled among unknown men. I have been in Asia with Noah and the Ark. I was in India when Rome was built. I was in the manger with an ass. I have seen the eternal distributor from a white hill in South San Francisco and the laughing woman at Luna Park outside the funhouse in a great rainstorm, still laughing. I have heard the sound of revelry by night, and I have wandered lonely as a crowd. I am leading a quiet life outside of Mike's place every day, watching the world walk by in its curious shoes. I once started out to walk around the world, but ended up in Brooklyn. That bridge was too much for me. I have engaged in silence, exile, and cunning. I flew too near the sun, and my wax wings fell off. I am looking for my old man whom I never knew. I am looking for the lost leader with whom I flew. Young men should be explorers. Home is where one starts from, but mother never told me where Mother never told me there'd be scenes like this. Womb weary, womb weary, womb weary, I rest. And that's Lawrence Ferlinghetti from his poem called Autobiography.
Yeah. All right. Tony, man, that's one of my favorite Ferlinghetti poems. No joke. That's so cool. I loved hearing you read that.
And thank you, Caleb, and for having me. One thing I did want to mention is that City Lights has all kinds of literature. It has literature. It's not the mass-produced literature. Independent writers, independent thought. It's right on the cusp of Chinatown. North Beach and Chinatown intersect very close to each other, and we're seeing a lot of anti-Asian violence right now.
Right, I've heard about
and it's
this,
happening every day. So what I would really convey upon people that are watching right now, if you do have Asian folks that in your communities, if you see them, talk to them, let them know that you're looking out for them, that you're concerned, and remind them to be careful out there, that things are happening, it's getting ugly, and we need to look out for each other.
Right. Yeah. Reach out to your friends, any friends from Asian American communities. Thank you. That's good advice, Tony, because I know a lot of times people see that stuff in the news and stuff and don't really know what they can do about it personally, and I think that's certainly one really direct way to at least be conscious and check on the people and care about.
Being part of the Filipino American community as I am,
right.
It really it really resonates, and a big much thanks in Filipino. It's maraming salamat. So maraming salamat, Caleb, and to Poetry Open Mic Asheville.
I love it. Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much. And please do come back again whenever you can. We're here every Wednesday night.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right.
I'll save some salami and French bread for you.
I will. I'm hungry now, Tony. You got me hungry with that.
Right on.
Poetry. All right. Later, Tony. We'll see you next time.
You too.
All right. Give it up one more time. Tony Robles. Yes, and you are tuned into Poetry Open Mic Asheville, coming at you live from Asheville, North Carolina. That was Tony Robles over there in Flat Rock, North Carolina. Thanks for joining us tonight, Tony. It's always great to have Tony in the house. We got some more wonderful performers coming at you. I do want to make sure we blast the comments real quick for Tony, because we love hearing from our viewers. Y'all keep the comments coming. How are you doing? What's up? What's going on? How you digging it? Yes, indeed. And of course, we're remembering Lawrence Ferlinghetti tonight, the great poet, and Thomas Crowe was our feature poet tonight here on Poetry Open Mic Asheville. But keep it locked here. We got some great performers coming at you next. We have Phil Huber in the house. Y'all are gonna have to jump up and down, put your hands together, and make a whole bunch of noise for Phil Huber! All right, how was that? Oh, hold on, you're muted. Phil, see if you can unmute your mic there. It's not letting me do it. There it goes. Hey, I can hear you now. Hey.
Good to see
Phil.
you.
So good to see you. Always good. How are you doing
Tony
tonight?
is incredible.
Isn't he? He's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. He's yes.
Away, man.
He's this Bay Area poet who's come into our midst here just down the road in Flat Rock. And man,
Just
I tell you,
down.
I wish we were doing the in-person readings right now, because we'd all be hanging out talking right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
But at least we got this. At least we got the virtual thing, and
We'll
we
be
can
hanging
still
out backstage,
connect,
talking shit.
Yeah, exactly. As we do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. Well, Yes, indeed. Did you bring some more of those beautiful poems of yours?
I got
tonight?
a poem, and then I was going to pray some flute.
Yes. You're gonna pray.
Yeah,
Pray some flute.
I want to pray some
man.
flute. All right.
I'm down to get praying.
Cool.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, dear.
All right, I'll turn it over to you. Y'all give it up for Phil Huber.
So yeah, the pandemic thing from earlier. I have two things that came about. The first is a love poem, so it's kind of like love in the time of COVID. But here we go. Across a chasm of contagious air, I call to you. I long to clear this contamination and sink into your arms. Grace my passion and desire, quench my unbearable thirst with the oasis of your kisses. Transform my visceral sighs into feral howls that shake the moon and dance the stars. Encompass my striving hunger, give it fashion and form. Pull me close as the earth trembles and shifts, oceans crest and crash. Usher me back from the edge of oblivion and dissolution. Hold me as I waver and fall into your breath. Bring me home to myself in the comfort of your loving gaze. And then I wanted to say a prayer with my flute, and this is for all of the babies that never made it past their mom's arms, for all the star-crossed lovers that never found their place because one of them fell first. It's for all the people that left the dance willingly. It's for all the people that had the music end abruptly and unexpectedly. And it's for all the sons and daughters that have witnessed their parents die through the window of a building, through the window of a laptop, through the window of a phone. Anyway, this is for all that and all the other things as well. There we go. And on we go.
Whoa, Phil, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful prayer. Thank you so much. Yeah. Wow. I was just kicked back here with my eyes closed and the headphones on, and I love it. I love all the delay and stuff you're running through.
It's good to have a striving timeline. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful, man. I love it. Thank you.
This is my new baby, so this is only the second time she's been out with this.
Really?
flute,
You
so,
got a new
yeah.
one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Cool. Well,
so thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Please come back and share more, and hopefully eventually one day we'll get up and jam again.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. That.
Yeah.
That. Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear. I love you.
Absolutely. Love you too, Phil. Y'all give it up one more time for the one and only fluter, Phil. Give it up. Thank you, Phil. Fluter Phil, praying the flute. Wow, I said that slow enough to not jumble all the words together. Cool. I can speak sometimes. Hey, thanks y'all for tuning in. You've got it locked here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville. And we're live here on YouTube and Facebook. Yes, indeed. Our music's by my group, The Lactones. That's all our theme music. That was Fluter Phil. These are some comments for Fluter Phil. We love Phil Huber. So good. Yeah, so good. Anyway, we've got some more awesome performers coming at you. It's been an amazing night so far, and we're not even through yet. We are in the thick of it, and we're loving it, and we thank you for your support. So keep those comments coming, keep the likes and shares coming, and yeah, thank you so much for that. Yes, and thank you to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava here in Asheville. They're open noon to 10 on Wednesdays now. So and if you're performing tonight, you have a free double waiting on you of Kava at the Kava bar as a thank you from us. So take advantage of that. Cool. Shout out also to our tech director, Morgan Beissert, tonight. Let's see who we got up next. We have Rachel coming up next. I'm so happy to have Rachel on the show tonight. And yes, let's see if we can get Rachel connected here. Yes, we love Rachel. Y'all make a whole bunch of noise for Rachel McMurray in the house. Give it up.
Hey, Caleb!
Hey.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's such a pleasure to have you. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, lovely. It's been so wonderful to see everybody sharing and to be honoring Ferlinghetti. But wow, the flute was, whoa. The flute was beyond.
I know, that's next dimension.
Yeah,
sure.
so I'm happy to be here. And I just have 2 pieces to share, both written during this pandemic. So the first one from just yesterday. So like people sharing some new stuff.
I love hearing new work. Yeah. Again, open mics are such a good place to like try out new work, for the first time. So
exactly. Never been read. So
yay, debut right here, y'all. You heard it. All right. Well, I'll turn it over to Rachel. Thank you again for being here. Y'all give it up one more time
Caleb.
for Rachel. Cheers.
So, like Phil, I'm starting off with a love poem, something that I'm new to writing. So, this is called Your Polaris Arms. Nothing ever dies. That's what the wind says. That's what the spider web cleaves to its shivering light lines like shadow to heal. That's where the moon, not dead. Like holly branches in late October, or the way you were once unknown to me, before we laughed at each other, surprised. Didn't know my name, Didn't know the curve of my skin, how my lips fit against your neck. Didn't know me but for the dreams. And they were nightmares, apocalypse, something in the sky too bright, and then I'd disappear. I'd come to you a comfortable ghost, and we would run through lavender fields, summit of solace, overwhelm of yes, eye to eye, and children again. Then gone, a nothing, not dead and not dying. And the dreams live on in our hands, in our habits, pictures now, the same dreams. While we break beneath Orion's ancient outline, grateful to explode, to supernova at long last, to be swept into your constellation like gold dust, collected, embraced. Never dead, no, but always the spider web cleaves to the light lines and the moon goes. And the second piece tonight is not a poem, and I wrote it back in August. It's something I don't know what to call it is. It's a piece, and it's called The Beginning of the World. For untold millennia, humans have wished death upon themselves. No one is sure how it started, this voracious appetite for destruction, but it persisted. It came to them in wars, threats of punishment, nightmares about the end of the world. It came to them in drought, disease, infestation, revolution, in fire and in earthquake, in nuclear disaster. Fear is an unrelenting God. It eats your soul, spits out the seeds, licks its blood-red lips. Fear is the demon that never sleeps. When it finally became apparent that the end would never come, they refused to accept it. Not the peasants, of course. They'd never been hungry for power or the mercy of oblivion. The meek of the world lived on, riding their bikes, cooking their dinners, raising their young, blessedly ignorant of the harsh and careful whispers filling the minds of the dark ones. They, with a capital T, hoped for domination, plotted elaborate centuries-long schemes, prideful of their hidden knowledge, performed their perverse rituals. They hailed the harbinger of doom in the moonlight, shivering at the call of the owl, the sight of the crow. They killed and were killed, reveling in their dangerous game. And when the veil was lifted, the masquerade finished, the pomp and circumstance petering to a sudden miraculous halt, they saw their own reflections, and they fell to their knees in clarity, felt the weight, the terrible truth of what they'd done. A revelation. The trumpets rang, the earth shook, the bells and drums went forth and multiplied. Moloch took a stately bow and handed the mic to his brother, his partner in crime. Seen, they bellowed together, and laughed a wondrous laugh that echoed throughout the forest of time. Roll credits. The rainbow appeared. The grand mystery of the storm rumbled joyfully across the mountains. Momentary peace, and the deal was done. And then, the sweet, faintest hints, the shadow of the covenant's twin, a double rainbow. "What does it mean?" cried the youth, filling the air with their unfettered glee. The joke, at last, revealed. The giants came and went. Hollywood partied in its mansions, New York in their ancient brownstones, Moscow in their domed cathedrals, Tokyo cheering from their shiny skyscrapers, Sydney doing the haka, Lagos dancing triumphantly, the boats along the Rio Grande shouting hallelujah, Johannesburg alight with victory, paper lanterns erupting from Hong Kong, Kathmandu spinning their prayer wheels, Oslo toasting skull, Manila leaping for joy, Montreal sparking their tobacco, Mumbai loading their cannabis pipes, Manila, Giza, beaming, Jerusalem weeping in relief. The lovers looked at each other from across the great divide and smirked. All was well. The beginning was here. Prayers and parades, praises and glory, and nobody watched as the evil ascended took a sharp right turn, and disappeared into space, the stars swallowing the story like the rain swallows the fields, giving birth to a reign of magic. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
Powerful
you,
work.
Caleb.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for hosting and keeping this going during this happening.
It's always my pleasure. You know, whatever's out there, we're doing open mic on here. So thanks for being part of it, and always thank you for your support, and thank you for sharing tonight. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I look forward to doing so next time.
Please do. Yes, please come back, and we'll see you then. Everyone,
all right.
Give it up one more time for Rachel McMurray. Cheers. Yes, that was Rachel McMurray, y'all, and you're tuned into Poetry Open Mic Asheville, coming at you live from Asheville, to wherever you are, anywhere in the world now. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for riding with us tonight. Big thanks to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, the Kava bar here in Asheville. Be sure and stop by and get your free double if you perform tonight. That's our thank you for sharing your art with us here on the live stream. Poetry Open Mic. So check it out. We're here every Wednesday. We've got a few more performers for you tonight, and of course, thanks again to our featured poet Thomas Rain Crowe tonight. And next week we will have Raquel Flowers Rivera as our featured poet. We're very excited to have her. She's a fantastic poet out of Texas, and we look forward to having them on the show. Cool. Let's see, who do we got up next? Up next, we have Christopher T. George joining us tonight from Delaware. Always good to see Christopher in the house. Everybody make some noise for the one and only Christopher T. George. Howdy, Christopher.
Hello, Caleb.
Hey. Awesome, man. How are you doing tonight?
Good.
Good. How are things in Delaware?
Coming along.
Good. You've been writing much?
Yeah, I've been digging up a lot of old poems and revising things, and
me too. Yeah. I've been doing a lot
you know,
of
one advantage of coming on later in the show is that I can completely change my repertoire.
Right.
You know, I was going to read a whole bunch of other stuff, and now I've picked some other things to read.
I love it when that happens, though. When you go to a poetry reading or something, you're going to read, and then you hear other people, and it makes you think of other things to read. It kind of,
right.
I think you're seeing the connections. You know, you start to see or just, I don't know, little bits of inspiration in the work of others.
Yeah, cool that's thing. It.
Yeah. Cool.
So I wanted to read some things more related to the Liverpool beat scene, as it were.
Right, of course.
You know,
Christopher's from Liverpool originally. Yeah. And he actually he saw the beats read there, and you know, he was involved in the poetry scene there. So yes, thank you for bringing that perspective. And
all right.
I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Christopher. Everyone, give another round of applause for Christopher T. George.
All right. Okay. Going to begin with a poem by a longtime friend of mine, Baltimore poet Dan Cuddy. And he's been published along with a poem of mine in a plague anthology out of Liverpool, published by a poet, a friend of mine, Jim Bennett, who runs a organization called Poetry Kit, and it's the Plague Year anthology. So this is The Plague by Dan Cuddy. Everywhere paranoia, invisible grains of possible death. Look at your fingers. You can't see the million teeth waiting, grinding in anticipation to chew your meat and the mind. If you've lived long enough, sung your own versions of I did it my way, and here comes the sun, and you remember Kennedy, Johnson, 9/11 is marked by time for death. The very breath you take may be putrid with virus. The young are ignorant as ghosts fly out of nursing homes, hospitals, the back alleys with dumpsters not emptied, of all the eons of human stupidity and malice. Rational thoughts, a bent coat hanger. You take off your shirt, stare at your naked chest, which is only a house for your heart, which is only a provider for your mind, which is only a vehicle for your soul. And the soul, a virus in God's eternity? Your questions leap like a virus too, from surface to surface. How everything has changed. I came across this definition of the beat generation, which kind of fits in with some of the works that we've been reading tonight. A member of the beat generation, late 50s to early 60s, a nonconformist in dress and thought, often renowned for wearing black turtleneck sweaters, stovepipe trousers, dark glasses, and berets. They used to hang out at coffee shops where they would recite poetry, sometimes accompanied by bongo drums, and talk about jazz or the people, society, regimes that are repressing them and trying to make them conform. I made a friend of Liverpool poet Adrian Henry, who was influenced by the Beats, and this is one of Adrian's poems. Mrs. Albion, you've got a lovely daughter, for Allen Ginsberg. Albion's most lovely daughter sat on the banks of the Mersey, dangling her landing stage in the water. The daughters of Albion arriving by underground at Central Station, eating hot Eccles cakes at the pier head, writing Billy Blake is fab on a wall in Matthew Street, taking off their navy blue school drawers and putting on nylon panties, ready for the night. The daughters of Albion see the moonlight beating down on them in Bebington, throw away their chewing gum, ready for the goodnight kiss, sleep in the dinner-time sunlight with old men looking up their skirts in St. John's Gardens, comb their dark blonde hair in suburban bedrooms, powder their delicate little nipples, wondering if tonight will be the night. Their bodies pressed into dresses or sweaters, lavender at the cavern or pink at the sink. The daughters of Albion wondering how to explain why they didn't go home. The daughters of Albion taking the dawn ferry to tomorrow, worrying about what happened, lacing up blue sneakers over brown ankles, fastening up brown stockings to blue suspender belts, beautiful boys with bright red guitars in the spaces between the stars, reeling and a rocking, wishing and a hoping, kissing and a praying, loving and a laying. Mrs. Albion, you've got a lovely daughter. Some years ago, Baltimore poet Sandy Castle wrote a poem called The Blake Mistake, about a date she'd had with a guy who thought she was talking about actor Robert Blake, the guy who killed his wife, when she mentioned poet William Blake, the man probably best known for writing Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright and Jerusalem. I borrowed that title for the following poem about Adrian Henry taking Ginsberg to see St. George's Church, Everton in Liverpool. The Blake Mistake. Henry took Ginsberg to St. George's Church with its chill interior constructed of cast iron, soaring columns, vaulted ribs, window tracery, all transported via horse-drawn dray from Craggs Forge, Toxteth. As they emerged from the Iron Cathedral, the scribes laughed to see Blake Street, reminded of William Blake, 18th century poet, madman, artist. Unaware, the street name derived not from the Tiger Man, but from Cromwell's iron-sided admiral, Robert Blake. Each cherished the talismanic moment in his heart. Willie Blake's ghost fertilized his muse to the root. When I visited Adrian at his home at 21 Mount Street in Liverpool, he was living with Carol Ann Duffy. Since then, I was not aware when I visited them that she herself was a poet. And since then, she's been Poet Laureate of Britain and has been well published. Arguably, she's surpassed Adrian in fame and name recognition. This is a poem called Duffy in Places. And Duffy in Places was a series of sketches by Adrian. He was also an artist as well as a poet. Series of sketches by Adrian that he did of Carol Ann, made between 1978 and 1981. At Ottercars, Basingstoke, Betjeman rates a whole shelf. I pick up a slim Larkin and Carol Ann's selected poems. Remember her in Mount Street, Liverpool, a slight figure in Adrian's larger shadow, captured in his haiku or sketched windswept near the Eiffel Tower or on the Staten Island ferry. A dark-haired girl who brought me coffee laced with Conniani in a thick jug. Conniani is condensed milk, Liverpool term. In retrospect, a rocket in a jam jar. Later, in Ludlow, a bookshop with Houseman. I read Duffy under blossoms as the caretaker locks the castle for the night. A milkmaid fetches revolution to yeoman farmers. And I'm going to finish with this one. I had mentioned to Caleb earlier that I'd attended a big poetry reading at the Royal Albert Hall in London, where Ferlinghetti was supposed to be, but he was in a car accident and was unable to travel to Britain to be there. But Gregory Corso was there, Allen Ginsberg was there, a lot of the British poets, Adrian Mitchell, as well as Adrian Henry, Brian Patton, Roger McGough, etc., etc. Also an older poet named Basil Bunting. This is called Adrian's Magpie for Adrian Henry. Jesus, Adrian, last time I came, you surprised me with a stuffed owl, as if Miss Mannequin Liberty with their spiked crown of mirrors wasn't enough. And now, for God's sake, you've got a magpie on its back in a glass case, white underside up to the ceiling, beak towards the fireplace, green-black tail feathers toward the sofa, a scatter of sparkly rings below, an homage of daffodils beside it, And now, after the Royal Albert Hall reading, I see you quick kiss Allen Ginsberg on the lips, pay homage in a wine-boozy way to Basil Bunting, at 84, looking disturbingly like Ezra Pound in his dotage, with cane and grizzled beard, as he sits enthroned in the Chelsea Art Club, quiet with his Northumbrian drawl. Fall asleep, head lolling to one side, a big guy in your black blouse with its wild irregular triangles of red, green, yellow, while everyone else leaves. The boss staff want to lock up, don't know what to do with you, until Tom Keyes manages to rouse you at 2, bangs your head into the copper dinner gong as he eases you up to bed. Yeah, I know, Adrian. What magpie? Thank you, Caleb.
And thank you, Christopher.
All right.
Yes, fantastic stuff. I gotta say too, I love how Edgar Allan Poe is perched on your shoulder, and there's appears to be a raven perched on his shoulder.
That's right. Yeah.
Nicely done. Very good stuff, Christopher. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and I hope to see you next time.
Yeah, you bet. See you then.
Absolutely. Cool. Y'all give it up one more time for Christopher T. George. Oh, yes. It's been a fantastic evening of poetry so far, and we still got some more coming at you, so keep it locked here to Poetry Open Mic Asheville. Many thanks to our technical director, Morgan Beissert, and our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, here in Asheville. Keeping us going for 10 plus years now as an open mic here in Asheville, and for the past coming up on a year now in the virtual realm. So we're gonna keep it coming for you each and every Wednesday night, so keep coming back, sharing your beautiful art and your voices, and yes, it's good to see everyone. And we got one more Huber coming up, and then we got Lee Stockdale and Amelia Maldonado, and if there's anyone else who's signed up tonight and hasn't done so yet, follow that StreamYard link in the broadcast studio so we know you're ready to go. We'll get you on here as soon as possible. And yes, there may even be a spot or two left if anyone else wants to jump in. But let's get Jason connected here. Yes, and there's the link there in the comments for anyone who needs it. And a few comments here for Christopher. I want to make sure we blast because we love hearing from people. So y'all keep the comments coming. We really appreciate it. All right. So y'all are going to have to jump up and down and make a whole bunch of noise to get Jason in here. So go ahead and do that now. It's Jason Huber, y'all.
Oh,
what's
hello.
up? Hey, Jason.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going great, man. It's good to see you. How you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Busy week. It's grading season, which is always a bummer. But
okay, cool. So y'all didn't get shut down by ransomware.
No, we did not get shut down by ransomware. So if there's anybody out there that wants to do that to an academic website, go ahead, give it a go.
Western Carolina EDU. No. We're certainly
Stephen
not.
King's got a story. He apparently quit his teaching job to go work in a professional laundry service. As he says teaching was the worst thing he could do for his writing. He just ran out of brain power at the end of the day. Luckily, I'm managing to do both, so I don't need to.
Hey, that's good. I think some people can. I mean, you know, obviously, Ron Rash, you know.
Well, you know.
You know, so yeah, that's really cool. So, what do you have for us tonight? Because I know you have been writing stuff. You have some new stuff for us tonight?
I have some stuff I've been working on during the pandemic, some fiction, and then some old poems. So a little bit of both.
Fantastic. Well, I'm stoked to hear it. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Jason. Thanks again for being here. And everyone give it up for Jason Huber. Yeah.
I have to say, I love Christopher's work and the way he reads it. It's delightful. So Thomas Crowe earlier was talking about how he thought you had to be French to be a poet. And I had a similar misconception as a bit younger man. I thought you had to be drunk to be a writer. And so I would often get shit-faced and try to write poetry. So I want to share some of that with you. And you can see sort of my moods as they shift. First one's called "Oh, to Lose Touch." I wish that I was teeny tiny and lived under my rug. In a vast canopy of oranges and blues, I'd fight wolf spiders and take refuge in the shoes stranded about my living room. Yes, it would be nice to crawl under that welcoming mat and run away from those thises and that's that make life difficult. I could hike the roads under my couch, explore the vast forest of abandoned bottle caps, the Appalachian Vintner Trail. I should like to summit the ottoman and take sight of this vast globe-like lamp in the corner. I suspect I would like that very much. This one's called, Really? I'm the mindless ramblings of an incoherent babbleog, running of thought and prose. What will my time make of this? Influencing rapid thought, my hands ache with metaphor and crap simile. Red Rover, send inspiration over. The dog's long dead and I haven't got a thing. Haven't got nothing. Rum characterizes many nights for the wayward poet. Poetry, a distinctive contemplation of one's navel while in a stupor. Ranting seems easy, a wild, frantic, and masochistic awe. Simple minds need simple pleasures. Back to the rum. A straight flush and a full house card table ramblings can sort out life woes. I miss the days and nights of feigned depth at the throat of a bottle. But I have been dissuaded of that notion. I've since stopped drinking and continued writing. So life is good. This is a bit of fiction. It's a larger piece I'm working on. I've been working on it over the course of this pandemic to try and keep myself as sane as possible. I think we're all doing something similar. This is a bit of a ghost story, and all good ghost stories need rules for their supernatural. And one rule that I'm playing around with is that when you are possessed by a demon, you relive the traumatic experience that brought that demon about, right? So ghosts are ghosts and demons are the residue of trauma in this existence. So wake up. The voice was that of a young boy, hurried and desperate. Please, he said while reaching out for Jay's shoulder. He went to shake it, but his hand slipped through. You have to wake up! He's nearly in tears now. Jay was in a dream, a rarity for him. He dreamt that he was with Leland. The two were making love. As they sunk deeper into the moment, their skin began to glow a pulsing white light. The light grew stronger until it filled the room and blinded them. It enveloped their bed, the yurt, and the land around them, and eventually grew so large that the planet could no longer contain it. As the atmosphere filled with the bright light, there was a massive nuclear reaction, and the planet exploded into a second sun. Please wake up. He felt an electric sensation in his shoulder. He was sleeping deeply, but the voice cut through. The rational part of his brain separated him from the newborn star. He felt another electric sensation in his stomach, and then a pulling, as though someone had attached a rope to his navel. There was a painful yank, and his eyes snapped open. He looked down to see the boy with large yellow eyes. Fear was evident in them. The boy's hands were wrapped around a silver cord at his stomach, and the child was pulling furiously. He let out a scream, and the boy stopped. You're up, the boy said. What are you doing to me? Jay sat up and stared. His unnatural eyes were red from and wet from fear. What's going on? The boy grabbed his arm and pulled him out of the bed. The silver cord at his stomach stretched as he stepped out of his physical body. He would never get used to that feeling. "You have to help," the boy said frantically. He yanked at Jay's arm, tried to pull him out of the yurt. Jay let himself be pulled through the wall of the yurt, and outside it was still dark, but there weren't any other souls around, just him and the boy. He planted his feet. "I'm not moving until you tell me what's happening," he said. The boy pointed at the lake, and he noticed a strange sort of fog. It was like a thick black smoke, but it didn't behave like smoke should. Instead, it sat heavy on the surface of the lake. He realized the chorus of toads had gone silent. The whole area was eerily quiet. The boy pulled him towards the lake. Jay's feet tripped and he sputtered forward. He stopped himself before entering the smoke. "I'm not going in there," he said. The thick black smoke turned red like gaseous blood, as though it was responding to him. "I'm sorry," the boy said through frightful tears. "It's the only way they would leave me alone." "What are you talking about?" Jay's confusion was quickly overridden by an intense pain as a bloodied hand reached out of the smoke and grabbed the silver cord at his stomach. He tried to pull away, but it felt like a limb was being pulled from him. He was being torn apart. The boy ran away as Jay was pulled into the smoke. The red filled his lungs and obscured his vision. He was drowning, gasping for air and quickly losing consciousness. Red gave way to black, and his vision faded. Then he woke up. He was in the woods. It was daytime. Everything looked the same, except the leaves were falling from the trees. They were orange, red, brown, and yellow where they should have been green. Jay exhaled and saw some of the steam rise from his breath. He realized how cold it was. He also realized he was wearing a thick denim jacket that wasn't his over a torso that wasn't his. He looked at his hands, and they weren't his. They were younger and smaller. They were the hands of a young man, maybe 13, 14. He inhaled deeply and noticed that even his body smelled different from what he was used to. His usual scent was soap and spray-on deodorant, but now he smelled like sweat and body odor. He heard the crunching of leaves and instinctively hid behind a tree. There were voices coming down the path, 2 men who sounded like they were struggling, carrying something heavy. His breath quickened, and he knew he wasn't supposed to be out there. There would be trouble if he was found, so he stayed hidden, waiting for them to pass. "This looks as good a spot as any," one of the men said. There was a thud. Whatever they were carrying hit the ground. A dog barked not too far from where they were. "Come here, Pip," the other voice shouted. The dog noisily shuffled through the leaves until he reached them. "You start," he said to the other man. "Why me?" "'Cause this is your fault. Do you want my help or not?" There was the sound of digging shortly after. Jay was terrified to move. The dog would notice, and he would have to explain himself. He thanked the stars that the wind was blowing the opposite direction. After a few minutes of digging, Jay poked his head around the tree. He saw the 2 men. One was digging with a fevered pitch. The other was holding a hunting bow. They both looked dirty, sweaty, and drunk as far as Jay could tell. The man with the bow had a thin ring of hair around his head that looked like he'd given up on it. He was wearing a dirty green long-sleeve t-shirt and an equally dirty pair of jeans. He was inspecting the bow and testing its draw. The other man was skinny and wired with muscles. He had a ball cap and sleeveless black shirt with white patches from the salt of his sweat. Jay peeked out a bit further and saw what they were carrying. It looked like a body, wrapped in a tarp. The man closest rested his bow against the tree and walked over to it. He unbound the straps from the tarps and laid it out. It was the body of a woman, younger than the 2 men, though it was hard to tell her age. Jay remembered a woman he once saw in the plaza begging for money when he was a teen. He tried to give her some, but his dad stopped him. "She'll spend it on drugs," he said. She had the same desperate look about her. The man took 10 paces from the tarp. His friend was too busy shoveling to notice. He knocked an arrow on his bow and shot it into the torso of the woman's body, letting out a laugh as he did. "What the fuck are you doing?" His friend stopped digging. The man knocked another arrow. "I've never shot a person before. This may be my only chance." He drew the bow. "I want to know what it feels like," he said as he launched another arrow into her neck this time. "Did you see that shot?" he asked with what looked like a a look of glee on his face. "Quit fucking around," the other man said. "This is serious. You want to take a shot?" He held the bow out to his friend. "I have to dig," was the reply. The man knocked a third arrow, and Jay couldn't watch anymore. He stood with his back against the tree, trying to figure out his escape. And then he heard a bark, and his heart sunk. 2 more barks and the sound of shuffling leaves before he could blink. The dog whipped around the corner and growled at him. He wanted to run, but he was effectively pinned against this tree. "Who the fuck is that?" More rustling of leaves. The man with the bow came around. "Fuck," he said when he saw Jay. "Fuck. Who is it?" the other man asked as he struggled to catch up. He walked around and his face went from confusion to surprise to immense disappointment. "Tommy," he said. He sounded defeated. "Why are you here?" the first man said. "I just wanted to be out of the house," Jay said frantically. "I didn't see anything." "No, you didn't, did you?" the tall, skinny man said. "Tommy," the man set his bow back down and raised his hands as though he were calming a wild animal. "This, what you didn't see, it was an accident, okay?" "Yes, sir. And you're not going to tell anybody?" "Yes, sir." "You know how I know that?" The man had a predatory look in his eyes. He put his hands on Jay's shoulders and gripped them hard. "Come on," the taller man said. "This doesn't have to be bad. You're not talking, right, Tommy? You wouldn't snitch on your new dad and his best friend, would you?" "No, sir." Jay was barely able to talk through the fear and heaping sobs. He closed his eyes as tight as he could. His pants were wet with fear. He tried to scream as he opened his eyes. A bright light flashed through him. He was in his body again, staring down at Leland's surprised face. His hands were wrapped around his throat, and Leland was kicking and scratching at him. He let go and felt a hard hand knocking into his chest, pushing him backwards. A thick red smoke filled the room, wrapping itself around them. Jay instinctively lit up his hands with an electric light and thrashed it out. The smoke reached for Leland, and he gasped for air. In a moment of intense fear, Jay felt something expanding from his solar plexus. A bright light filled the room, continued beyond the yurt, and kept going for miles around. Leland was clutching his throat, breathing heavy. "I'm sorry," Jay said with tears in his eyes. "It's not your fault," Leland choked out. His breathing returned to normal, and he stood up and walked to Jay. He grabbed his face with one hand and his waist with the other. He pulled Jay into him and kissed him deeply. He felt the tension in his muscles ease and shift into a different sort of a tension as he kissed back. Leland, lips locked, steered towards the bed, and they both fell into it. And that's it. Sorry, that was very dark.
That was great, Jason. Thank you. Thank you. That was a really cool piece.
It was very dark. Very, very dark.
Hey, we like the dark stuff here. But also that was cool hearing some of your older work there too, you know. I definitely I know you know, a lot of folks can relate to like you know, feeling like they write really well when they're intoxicated.
We all want to be the tragic creative, right? And there's this romanticized notion, and I sort of really got into that for a while.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think at some point you realize like a lot of that stuff probably sounded better when you were fucked up, you know.
Yeah, true. That helps.
But yeah. But no, that's cool stuff, man. Thank you for sharing all that tonight. Thank you for being here. It's great having you here. Yeah.
It's great being here. It really is.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks for coming through, and hope you can make it next time. It's good. I love this sharing of creativity on Wednesday nights. It's good. So
we'll see you next time. Bye.
Jason Huber, y'all give it up. Yeah, you know, we're having a good time tonight. It is good over here. We're loving it. And it's not over yet. We still got Lee Stockdale coming at you and Emilio Maldonado. And there's a space or two left if anyone wants. But thank you for tuning in tonight. It was great having Thomas Rain Crowe as our featured poet. It was great checking in on the folks at the bar. It was good to see our friends at Sovereign Kava. It's just good to see everyone tonight. Yeah, Rachel and Justin and Ashley, Phil, Tony. Man, it's been great. It's been really good. So anyway, I'm certainly not ready for it to be over yet. So y'all keep it locked here. I do want to make sure we blast these comments for Jason because we'd love to hear from our audience. Y'all please keep the comments coming. Let us know how you're doing out there. And keep it locked here. Thanks to Sovereign Kava here in Asheville, our sponsor, keeping us going, keeping the power on. Yes, indeed. All right. Lee's here in Asheville with us. He's a great poet, a great writer. He's got a book out. He's done all kinds of stuff, and he's a great musician too. So, and I know that folks down outside the Kava bar love Lee. So, y'all jump up and down and shout and make a whole bunch of noise for Lee Stockdale. Hey, what's up, Lee?
Caleb, I have some news. You know, I just realized because, I mean, like many of us, well, I write longhand and then I put it into a computer.
Yeah,
and,
same here mostly, yeah.
Yeah, in 4 pages, I'll hit 4,000 pages of poetry. That's a lot of poetry.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So, I
That's
just realized
incredible.
that tonight. I know I was coming up on 4,000, but
Yeah,
I got
and
actually,
poems usually aren't more than a few pages, right? So
Right,
I mean,
no more
that's
than
at
ever.
least a few thousand poems.
Yeah, at most, never more than a 2-page poem.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a 2-page, but mostly, like tonight, I'm going to read 3 1-page poems. They're
Yeah.
not even a whole page. You know?
Right.
So
right.
what else can I tell you? So I've been doing a lot
Congrats.
of yoga. Oh, thanks so much.
Oh,
I've been
that's
doing
cool.
a lot
I
of yoga.
love yoga. I've been doing some of
Yeah.
that and some Tai Chi
Doing a lot
and
of-
stuff, and just
Yeah.
you know, trying
Doing a lot
to
of
stay
that.
healthy during the isolation. You know.
Yeah, all that, and really that's all I got, man. It's but my hat's off to you because you make all of us sound a little bit intelligent. You do before we read. You kind of make us feel like, wow, that guy's kind of smart. But I know we all are.
Oh well,
but-
thanks.
but
I
probably
just love
I'm not as
talking to
smart.
y'all. I think y'all are
Yeah.
really smart, and
Yeah, well, you do a
you know,
great
this is what
job.
we would be doing at the readings anyway, saying hi to each other and
that's
stuff.
right.
So
That's
try
right.
to
That's
try to give it
right,
that real
man.
feel.
I look forward to getting back whenever that is.
Certainly,
You know?
yeah. But
whatever
I'm glad
that
we
is.
got this in the meantime. It's always good to
Yes.
see you here, Lee.
Right.
So you got 3 poems
you.
for us tonight?
3 poems, yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And in fact, I just mentioned, I didn't even notice, but in 2 of the poems, there seems to be kind of a thread, a theme.
Oh, cool.
Not intended, but one of those serendipitous. Isn't that
Hey.
crazy?
I love it when that happens.
Crazy. Man.
Very cool. All right,
All
well, I'll
right.
turn it over to you, Lee.
Thank you
Everyone
so
out there,
much.
make some noise one more time for Lee Stockdale.
And believe it or not, I have really worked on this poem. It is taken a lot of evolution to get it to where it is. It may still be evolving. Movie theater. The stolen boy looks back at the island, a receding green hump, as the ship sails into the sunset. The skull and crossbones flap, and the head pirate grins at the boy through bad teeth. Close shot on the beach, where a red bottle bobs and washes onto the sunny sand. The boy wakes from his nightmare at the smell of bacon his mother is cooking downstairs, and behold, the bottle on the nightstand next to his bed. He reads the message and smiles. Fade to black, the end. The meager audience never sees the message. An ungratifying ending, and they exit grumbling. For these thin movies the owner enjoys. Theater that should have shut years ago, kept afloat by unknowing snowbirds. The owner turns off the lights and returns to his attic room with its sloping ceilings and mouse batting string in the corner. Speak, little mouse. What's on your mind? Do you want to be me and wear sandals and shorts? I want to be an acorn and fall from a tree, dig octopus tentacles into the earth, grow green hair, be a slow growth movie. I can hear them now. Give me my money back. I always do. Commercially inclined, one will die today. Don't let his last thoughts be of that man who would not give me my money back. Let his thoughts be of the wife he loved. How lucky he was to be born an American. How lucky to die on such a fine day. So, yes, I think there's a theme, underlying theme. This is called authority. Do not let him in under any condition. He's the Burger King of whopping lies, a threat of harm to self or others, and the others is us. It never works. But wedge the chair under the door handle. Above all, make no cultural references. We need to disorient him as to place and time. It's unprecedented and may be immoral, but barrage and bombard him with glossy brochures, Crate and Barrel, J.C. Penney's, T.J. Maxx, Macy's, Hobby Lobby, Lowe's, Home Depot, AAA. Sir, those are easily identifiable cultural references, a smorgasbord of our present milieu. Damn the cultural references. Rules must change. We've got to be flexible and think like him. How do we know it's even a man? Go back to the first line. Do not let him in. That was a totally arbitrary decision. Do you think a woman could propagate such, what are we calling it? Evil. Woman who gives birth to many good people, who themselves, when born, may also be women. Think, for God's sakes, man, it's a man. Excellent news, sir. The brochures are working. He's maxed his credit cards. He's out of cash. He can't afford a box of Post Toasties. Starve him out. Yes, that's very good. Keep the brochures coming. We've got him on the run. And then finally, happy tales to you. Tails, tales. Happy tales to you. He looked older than his age for a rat. Met a young mouse. They twined tails, dined on garbage from better restaurants, ran through the theater district opening nights, and soon set up house on Central Park West, in the floor above John and Yoko and the baby. They made babies themselves, pink-nosed rat mice, to whom their mother read Stuart Little. The Dakota became their fun house. They crawled in the walls, danced along pipes, got pissed at the Lenin biographer who said he shot heroin naked in bed all day. They'd often see John through vents and mouse holes, drinking nothing stronger than coffee or wine as he worked out chords for starting over. By now, the kids were allowed to cross Central Park West to play in the park, skitter open-toed sandals, pose for photographers, eat from a couple's popcorn box. One night, coming back from the park, they spied a very weird guy hanging outside the Dakota, instantly leapt on his neck, bit his ankles, wrists, and sucked teeth in his eyes. He ran away, crying, but not before dropping a copy of Catcher in the Rye. Good night. From me.
Lee, fantastic stuff. Powerful work there.
Great
Thank you
to be
so
here,
much.
man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
joy.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. See you next
Absolutely.
time.
We'll see you
Thank
then.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lee. Give it up
Thank
for
you.
Lee. That's Lee Stockdale, y'all. Here in Asheville, NC. Thanks for joining in tonight. This is Poetry Open Mic Asheville. It's been fantastic. Everyone's been great. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Yeah, we're keeping the vibe alive here and keeping it going. That's right. Yeah, thank you for the comments. Keep the comments coming. We love to hear from y'all. Thank you to our sponsor, Sovereign Kava, Tech Director Morgan Beissert. I think we got one more poet for you. Is that right? Did we have anyone else? I don't want to miss anyone. It's been a packed night. Thanks, y'all, for turning out tonight. It's been really great to see everyone. Thanks, of course, again to our featured poet, Thomas Crowe. Check out the New Native Press website and check out Thomas's books. He's got a lot of books out. It's been fantastic. Check out all the people on the show. A lot of them have work out there you can check out. Anyway, let's see. Do we have Amelia? Cool. Justin. And then we had a couple others. It's cool. If not, I'll go ahead and close things out. But do check out the show. You can watch these. They stay up on our YouTube and our Facebook page. So if you just tune in and you missed the stuff earlier, check it out. After the broadcast gets done, it'll be up there. Sovereign Kava YouTube page. We got a link to that as well. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out with some poems here. And we're working on getting E connected, I think. If we get him connected here in the next few minutes, we'll put him on. But I'll go ahead and do this poem. I wanted to do some poems because it's just the let's see, it's been almost 8 years now since we lost one of our open mic poets. Mike Cook read his poems at the in-person open mic many years ago. Every Wednesday night he'd share his poems there. And unfortunately in 2013 he took his own life, and his family came and told me that I didn't know this, but the open mic was the only place he shared his poetry. You know, they hadn't even really heard any of it. And so we did like a memorial reading at the Kava bar and read all his poems. And so this is one of his poems. This is by Mike Cook. This is called Hero of the Suburbs. Go drown on me in a mineral pool of white tulip petals formed in the canal of your sternum. Raise me in a whiskey-stained revival tent, a barrel of black pepper the pulpit. Walk me down the pews filled with ghosts. Teach me how to drown out sirens, seduce the green wasps from my skin, and lose no fire. Make dove with me. Skate with me on plaid and plywood. Remember me before the wood. before nocturnal raptors flew to my bed, stole my wings and pecked my fontanelle, leaving only a seed of flight, now a lonesome silver maple seated to a prison of soil. Faded maroon, petrified leaves, pinned to a floor of fingertips. Have steps with me. Take my ocelot follicles, weave a lion's mane. Use a pen to check my square. Let me know I'm there. Work in a garden of feet. Buy yourself glass toenails. You first told me there's no crystal stair. All right, that's Mike Cook. All right. Very good. I think we got old E connected. Amelia over in Chicago. Very good. Cool. Glad to hear that. Y'all are gonna have to make some noise and see if we can get Amelia connected here. Everybody jump up and down and shout and make a whole bunch of noise for Amelia Maldonado. What's up, Emilio?
How's it going?
What's up, man? What you up to tonight?
Whew. Well, you know, I was busy all day, but remember how I was talking last week about making them comments about love and life and, you know, just appreciating them aspects of things.
Yeah, man.
So you know, to paraphrase either Percy or Solomon, I found a muse.
Oh shit.
Yeah, man.
Oh shit.
And
that's my boy.
Yeah, man.
Hey, good for you, man.
Well, no,
it's
wait,
good to have a muse, right?
We are straight up talking just muse, man. We ain't talking about no recollections.
I feel you. I feel you.
I'm trying to shoot straight in this. It's not like I'm not talking about as Spike would have put it.
Right. No. That is an excellent thing too, man. You know, because I mean, as poets, like you got to bow down to the muse, you know.
Man, it's been a while since
and it'll kick your ass sometimes, right?
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that because it has, you know. And it was right after I literally had pronounced myself muse free.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, actually, no, muse free. Not. It was more intoxicant, resplendently repellent. You know. No. And no. Sad to say, but I'm game because I'm in a different mindset and place, energy, and all that.
Different times.
Yeah. But I guess what was exciting about it, what's cool, is that I haven't written with someone in mind or towards someone or that combination, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like 8 years.
Wow.
You know, there's been maybe like
8 years tonight.
There's been a couple of people that I wrote like an individual poem thinking about them in mind.
Sure.
But where I'm like writing because I'm thinking about an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like things are happening because of that, whether they're
poems. It's a rare thing for me too, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. So, but it's this interesting thing. I'm like trying to like you know, let it happen, but also like, damn, this is fucking great. It's happening. But it's like, don't talk
Yeah.
about it. No, we can't talk about
don't
it.
jinx it. Yeah. Right.
But it's like,
just go with it.
So I know I'm breaking the rules right now with that by talking to you about it. But I figured as a writer, and it's late enough that most people are now watching.
Yeah.
Yo on TV.
No, as a rider, I say just fucking go with it.
Yeah,
hang on
course.
for dear life and ride that shit as far as it goes.
That's the piece. Hang on for dear life.
Right.
That says it, because that's really what it is.
That's all you can do sometimes.
And one thing that I'd say is in a way that's really similar to fucking is when you get that point where you're writing it, you can't force it one way or the other. Otherwise, it's gonna be over. So you got to just like find that,
be in the moment.
That happy medium of like being in the moment and not anticipating or not trying to counter that anticipation. To minimize the excitement, to just enjoy the moments.
Oh yeah.
And then it can be like a good piece of your time. Of your energy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. So you saying you got some new work tonight?
So I'm saying that I read 3 of the pieces, the new pieces, for the first time last week.
Yeah.
And
okay, cool. Yeah.
And I wrote one that I did not read even earlier than that. Which will be the first time I'm reading it out loud anywhere. The first time here, obviously. So,
awesome.
And then I've got another one that I wrote just this past Friday night, and it was definitely with her in mind again.
Oh yeah.
And then I have an old poem, but still kind of had a little significance to, maybe not so much to Thomas Raincrow. Actually, next week I'll try to find some of the stuff that I have of his.
Oh yeah.
To read. I just wasn't home until
right. Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah, and I met him.
Yeah.
But
totally.
But in thinking about he read that one poem, and so did Kevin, and other people were continuing the Ferlinghetti vibe.
Yeah. Totally.
From last week. So I was just like, well, I don't have a Ferlinghetti poem, but this is the last one. We'll talk if you want to. We can talk about how it feels relevant. So
yeah. Well, let's hear the stuff, man. I'll turn it over to you.
Cool.
And we'll sit back and enjoy. But everybody out there, give a big warm welcome to Emilio Maldonado joining us from Chicago tonight. Give it up for Emilio.
Good buddy. Yeah, buddy. All right. Yeah, that's a good way to start. It's always your eyes. Then, when blindfolded, it's your mouth, your lips, or your eyebrows. A furrowed brow, your positioning, the danger and or commitment, the vulnerability and bravery, the recklessness, the total joy, the total surrender, the total command. God damn. Here's another one. Total. This control, both fighting and running from release Tenderness never leaves. Starch sheets offer their own forms of discipline. Bindings, the familiar. Whispers and shouts. The infinite levels of fantasy and desire you lay there, an offering, a commandment, a journey. Deserve has everything to do with it. The time travel that happened between engaged souls deep underneath the moans and laughter, the agreements and begging. Behind the electric soundscape of mood and beats is blood. It pulses and rushes. It's carrying this rhythm that builds, gets set aside, renews, and cries out repeatedly if you were lucky. Here's a short. I can hear the record stop playing, hiss of the speakers. A storm had burst earlier, non-rhythmic raindrops on metal in the background, and the sounds of you. Each sound of you. Breaths, bed groans, other sounds. And this is Spanglish in my head. Exhortations to once worshipped forces, icons, and ideas. Give me Danger by the Stooges serenades these musics. Encased in glass and steel, I catch the lazy drift to reflexes. Knocked off my donkey. Thankfully, my sight remains. I regard will and the fierce wind. And I got two more here. Why didn't you go out and start missing something and realizing it was me? I need Emilio. Why didn't he come? I need to see Emilio. And I'd get to make an entrance. And a studio audience would Fonzie me onto the stage. I didn't get a call. Nobody called. You. Especially not you. Because you stayed in, because you went out and wouldn't be wondering how to fill the something with the bouncing ball of me. I wish people had closed captioning sometimes. I don't understand sometimes. I get confused sometimes. I just blip to the end of the night. I'm sweating because I'm old and fat. Because I'm wearing a poncho inside and standing. Did I impress the white kid yet? The bartender thinks I look familiar? I always do. I'm coming up for air. She didn't call. Nobody called. It's a fucking pandemic. My Theo died. Will she call ever? I'm a shitheel. Need another drink. I'm sweating. I'm in no one's mind. Nobody called me. she hadn't called me. Here's the last one. Sorry. Vibing on Lester. You ever see music's folk? Slipping notes on the surface of a beat, a loneliness, oh yeah, that humbles me. The real hard knock life. Creating for years with that appreciation, that's Lester there in the first chair. Playing for the original hair. Playing for the original heads. Playing with air, you dig? Mom's first love. The Jesse Tree of fun. Playing with air. President of the Tenors. My man Lester, I've seen his tag on the retired subway cars of artists who moved me. Mom's first love. He heard her bad, I can tell. Because it hurts her to even hear his name. Crazy, man, crazy. Head cocked to the side, pork pie on straight. Holding a tenor sideways like a thug. Holding a melody. Pointing at 9. Chasing the melody. Call the cats sisters. Know what I mean, Daddy? Crazy, man, crazy. All alone in this world, we die alone. But living alone? Damn, sucker. Sad eyes tell the tale. Strange fruit in those times, but come back, rewind to the first chair days. Making the cats, the cool cats, oh my God. And damn, sucker. With that air you just played. Made love to Billy Lady Day with your air, with your soul. All the other sisters had to show us they were men, but you, man, flowing up, throwing down. Made the sisters the cool cats. Damn, sucker. And all this truth, all this wasn't enough. Wrote the cautionary tale, the portrait of the artist as a young man. Made those who loved you sad. The cats wanted you back, but those strange fruit days, you were where you could only be, doing a backstroke and bourbon for a little while, even lost your mind on that moonshine for a little while. And you lost your lady. You and Billy were in the same way, blues creatures. Had the damn sucker and lost it. The air you was playing was weak now. The lady had lost her luster. But y'all got fine and mellow one day. And the cats cried. You held Lady Day in your delicate air. And you were still the president of the Tenors. There you go.
That's Emilio Maldonado, y'all. Great stuff, man. Thank you for sharing that, man. Love the new stuff. Love the old stuff. It's
Yeah,
good, man. I like how that went a lot of different places. You know.
Tried to.
Yeah, totally.
Try to tell the truth, man.
Right? I mean, that's what poetry is all about.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Try our best, at least. Man. Well, shit, man. It's good to see you. I guess we gotta wrap it up pretty soon. We have a pretty stacked night tonight.
Cool.
But let's catch up soon, man.
Yeah.
It's always good having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, definitely
listen to.
Yeah.
You know, Thomas and Kevin.
Oh man, always.
The what was it? Was it Huber, Mary, what's her name?
All the Hubers. Ashley.
Ashley. I heard her. Got to hear her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Always a good
Justin.
time.
Got to hear Justin too.
Oh yeah, Justin. Yeah, and we'll be putting together another poetry cabaret show soon. So
cool.
Everyone stay tuned for that. Amelia will be with us, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We're working on that. But yeah, thanks for rolling through tonight, Amelia. We'll see you next time. And yeah, can't thank you enough, man.
Well, thank you for letting me do it and for sticking around. And, you know.
Yep. You know it, man.
Doing that
we
thing.
got a spot for you.
All right. Peace. Morgan, love you.
Peace.
Safe.
Shout out to Morgan. Y'all give it up one more time for Emilio Maldonado. Yes. That's Emilio. Coming in all the way from Chicago tonight. Wow, it's been a great night. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, I'm gonna spit a few quick poems and then we'll wrap this thing up. But thank you to so much everyone who shared tonight, everyone who tuned in. It's been a fantastic evening. Please join us again next week when our featured poet will be R. Flowers Rivera. It's gonna be a good time. Y'all take care out there. Stay safe and you know, take this feeling we created here tonight and do something good with it. This one's called Epistle to a Donkey Keeper. Ricardo, there was a lost donkey in my backyard last night. He came to my doorstep and brayed. I could hear him through the walls. I knew I should write to you, as it has to do with quantum physics, psychology, dark energy. I saw the landscape sliding underneath us. These mountains we've known so near, and their deep hidden springs, and rhododendron hells, your wild monastery. I'm drawn to you, not knowing how a strange guzzle once made us brothers. We shared brandies at Nepenthe, watched over by a spitting phoenix, and were tricked to rendezvous with the Mayday poet at the Henry Miller Memorial Library, smiles wide, the Pacific stretching out from the cliffs. Seabirds write casitas with our teeth. In the morning, no tracks in the yard. I have become the black cat in the doorway, El Gato Negro, walking through the door. The redwoods shed their all-shaped leaves where you stand in Tai Chi pose, parting the wild horse's mane. White crane spreads its wings, carry the tiger over the mountain. My head is throbbing. Poetry is scattered about the room when I wake. Beside the blue highway of death. Basket full of tomatoes rolls across open road, flakes of green boards, and on the back of a truck sits a shoeless boy, holding on with one hand and eating a tomato like an apple, the juice and tiny seeds on his white shirt, slight smell of dust as they go by. Next, the chicken truck is a pillow fight, tail feathers trailing the drift to the ground, slower than rocks and straw, and slower than dust kicked up by the truck. In Kansas, it's lucky to see a hill. If you don't pay attention, you'll miss them, but they're there. My watch doesn't seem to work out here by this roadside truck stop. I've nowhere to be, no cargo to pull. Eating a pimento cheese sandwich. A red station wagon rolls by, young woman driver, carefree, looking preoccupied, eyes the color of Midwest sky and thick-rimmed glasses. A black lab in the back looks at me as they go by. I watch until they become fragments of the horizon, then disappear below it, and slowly I take another bite of the sandwich and chew it. How to overcome stage fright. 1. Live where language has been forgotten. Words I speak become the nonsense speech of dreams. Scorpions remain hidden. Their metaphors sting worse. 2. Fugitive imagery so few have seen can't be saved. The tragedy of our tongues lays waste to what we've gained. 3. Once we grew hands that worked for us, vine networks flowered with modern art, words erased in decaying air. I suppose there's beauty in art that remains hidden, left in remote caves, forgotten in attics, abandoned in back alleys by trash cans and chain link fences. 4. Speak. Out of that star fire of 1,000 lamp darkness, into the moon hearts of eyes you can't see. My foreign voice howls with poetry. One friend understands. And I'll do one more original. Let's do Dream Spell Synchronous. The rain drops beat like broken buckets, buckshot sprayed garbage pails, and rubber banded barrels, orificial and holy. Still capable of music, producing a session with 10,000 players. Sawed-off whistles shriek, piercing the sun, with lurid turrets syncopating, while conch shells billow with the sea waves. Darting and enemies make time for a child to be born and learn to swim. No noise can harm the one who harmonizes with it. No gesture can destroy the one who from it blooms. Enough said freedom to chains. Enough said people's voices full of cancer from fear. Tigers will terrorize unless a lesson is learned. There lie deep pockets of wilderness we must never go. We must leave for the creatures we've never known. The air is leaking and somehow we must sew quilts of it. Turtles reckon they're better off swimming but still return to the shore. Ancient tea is beneficial too. Rockets were made for art, not war, though art is war, and much depends upon a purple umbrella upside down, brimming with rainwater beside the gray pigeons. The rain keeps falling out the window, and falling 20 stories about falling, and the rain falls looks like rain. She brings the rain. God knows I tried. Africa in the early morning rain, purple rain, you look like rain, the rain, super-duper fly. And the terroir here is like jewels. Keep on swimming to the estuary, where all our endangered loves breathe. Our gray whales and stellar sea lions, limitless unseen fire birthing the sky. And to close out tonight, I'm going to share some of Thomas Raincrowe's translations. Thank you. I appreciate that, y'all. It's been a good night. This is good medicine. Thanks, everyone. I'm gonna share a love poem. Translated from as French or German, the German of Yvonne Gall, the great surrealist poet Yvonne Gall, of the Crowe translation. I want to be that birch tree that you so love. I would have 100 strong arms to protect you, 100,000 green and gentle hands to caress you. I would have the best birds in the world to wake you up at dawn and console you at night. I would pour you from the petals of the sun in summertime. I would wrap your fearful dreams in my shadow. I want to be that birch tree who carves out your grave with its roots in order to embrace you again and again. And this is from Thomas Rain Crow's Drunk on the Wine of the Beloved 100 Poems of Hafez, the great poet, who was came from the same poetry scene as Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi. The great Sufi mystics. This is nothing. The value of all the gold in the world is worthless. Nothing. Wine bringer, bring wine. Because this whole world and its business is nothing too. Both heart and soul of Hafez desire the beloved's presence. To him, this is everything. And without that, life and happiness are nothing. Good luck comes to the heart, painless and without blood. Food picked in the garden of paradise, gained by blood and stress, is not real food. So if you are tired and hot, don't go looking for shade beneath the tree of life or beneath the lotus. There is no cool breeze unless you know the truth. Life on this earth is short and is gone like a forgotten dream. Use this time to rest. For even this time does not exist. O wine bringer, we are merely waiting on the shore of the ocean of death. Fill our cups while you can. Even the time it takes to drink a sip of wine is gone too fast. And friends, don't worry about what people say. Be the happy rose. Be the happy rose. The power of this passing world is like the breeze, gone, and is nothing. And I say to the professors, be careful, and don't always think you are right, for the distance from the monk's cell to the master's abode is less than you think. I have been worn away to nothing, from all this grief and suffering. Yet there's no need for me to confess to any priest, for this too is nothing. For this too is nothing. Hafez is a name that has the seal of approval. But the wino is not impressed. To have much and to have nothing is the same and is nothing. To have much and to have nothing is the same and is nothing and is nothing. To have much and to have nothing is the same and is nothing and is nothing. Because the whole world and its business is nothing too. The value of all the gold in the world is worthless. Nothing. Use this time to rest, for even this time does not exist. And friends, don't worry about what people say. Be the happy rose. Be the happy rose. For to have much and to have nothing is the same and is nothing and is nothing. Thanks for coming to Poetry Open Mic, Asheville. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's a pleasure to be your host each and every Wednesday night. My name's Caleb Beissert. Our technical director is Morgan Beissert. Our theme music's by the Lactones. And our sponsor is Sovereign Kava. Our featured poet tonight was Thomas Crowe. Thank you to everyone who shared. Thank you to everyone who watched. We really appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Peace and love. Y'all take care. Much love, y'all. Signing off.
by myself. I always do anyway. Sitting next to someone ain't the same as being with someone. Trying on hats, having a lemonade. The expressly dull times, my darling, your friends liked me more than you, I suspect. Loyalty is sometimes taken for granted. I'm gonna sit on the floor and do some caresses to the rug, get my fingers vibrating. I hide a bottle of brandy in a jacket pocket. You find strangers' lips ready and warm. I promise the phrase "you should" has been 86 forever. Ice cream's on me next time.